Gamers of the Underworld. Chapters 201 to 218. Chapter 201. Adjustments in the third beta testing. In the dimly lit Eternal Kingdom, Brainiac brought the plump hamsters to entrance number 3. The 3 hamsters each carried a small piece of luggage. Big Boss walked out. "Thank you for your hospitality. The dungeon is pretty good, though I don't have much of an impression." "Did we pay?" Big Boss asked in his helium voice. Brainiac nodded but didn't speak. Second Boss stood behind Big Boss and said, "Big Boss, let's hurry. Why did we come here for a tour? We're looking for Lord Sherlock." Fat Otaku dragged his luggage and asked, "Did we have a full meal? Why am I hungry?" The 3 hamsters dragged their luggage and left Eternal Kingdom. Entrance number 3 was immediately sealed. The gamers didn't discover the hamsters leaving as Brainiac had made them invisible. This was what happened. Brainiac was working in his burial hall early in the morning. His main job was listening to the gamers speak trash and reviving their corpses. Sherlock came to find him to send off the 3 hamsters via entrance number 3. Hence, Brainiac was at entrance number 3 to send off the hamsters. Brainiac looked at the distant hamsters and wrote in his journal, 201. Lord Sherlock didn't want the hamsters to recognize him. 202. I have to pretend not to know the 3 hamsters if I meet them. 203. Lord Sherlock's background is even more mysterious. 204. Fat Otaku is a glutton. I would like to research. Brainiac stowed away his journal properly before proceeding back to the burial hall. Sherlock was sitting in the Dungeon Lord main hall, and Eggface sat by Sherlock's legs and filed the nails of his own front claws. Evelyn was holding a list and reporting to Sherlock. Death compensation for 40,000 warriors, damage compensation for 50,000 sets of armor, expenses for 10,000 units of medicine, alchemy and raw materials for magical items. And 100 beetlemans, Sherlock added as he raised his hand. Sorry, Lord Sherlock? Evelyn lowered her head apologetically and said immediately, I'll work harder the next time. I'm very happy you've assigned me to negotiate with Winterfell. I've always trusted you, and you're capable. I feel that you'll have no problem handling this issue. You'll do a good job. Don't worry, I'll help to disguise you for the whole journey, Sherlock said as he sipped his bloody chrysanthemum tea. Lord Sherlock. Evelyn lowered her head and wiped her tears. Did I say something wrong? Sherlock looked puzzledly at Eggface. Eggface lifted his head bewilderedly and said, Ah? My eternal foe, why did you ask me such a question? The ruler of darkness is only a 2-year-old small black dragon. No, Lord Sherlock, don't be mistaken. You didn't say anything wrong. It's just that, nobody has praised me since I started schooling. Lord Sherlock, you've always been helping me, taking care of my job and giving me a place to stay. And you trust me enough to let me help. I'm really. Evelyn took out her fragrant handkerchief and blew her nose. It's nothing much. I'll praise you more in the future. Now go and do your work. Oh, and remember to record down the issues of Underground Forest number 3, Sherlock reminded Evelyn. Evelyn bowed and left. Eggface had finished filing his own nails. He stood on his hind legs and straightened his coiled body with difficulty. Are you putting on weight? Sherlock frowned as he looked at Eggface. The King of Darkness is taking in the essence of the world. I have to maintain the rapid growth to handle the power in my body. Eggface said solemnly, then his stomach started growling. Eggface left the Dungeon Lord main hall and shouted, Servants! My loyal servants, come and feed me. A group of gamers rushed forward and escorted Eggface out noisily. Sherlock watched the door closing slowly, then he went into deep thought. Why are you keeping this black dragon, Lord Sherlock? I feel it's a losing venture, Brew said in a tone that suggested he was taking delight in Sherlock's misfortune. Sherlock didn't reply to Brew but asked, How was the assimilation of the Winterfell dungeon core? Perfect, Lord Sherlock. Do you know the feeling of a level 2 dungeon core swallowing a level 4 dungeon core? Tisk, tisk, it felt like a child eating an elephant. I'll need time to assimilate. I tried upgrading to level 4, but I failed. There is no way for a dungeon core to jump levels. It's a pity, but don't you worry, Lord Sherlock. Brew quickly said, though I'm unable to upgrade to level 4, I'm not wasting the excess dungeon core. In fact, I've used it to create various assistive functions. Assistive functions? Sherlock frowned. That's correct. The assistive functions of Dungeon, Eternal Kingdom, according to the gamers. As you know, their souls were summoned from the Otherworld. In other words, their existence is dependent on our existence. Compared to the recruitment of natives, this kind of summoning method has many benefits. We can modify their appearances but not their bodies. Brew said, this will allow them to feel that this world is more like a game and elevate their gaming experience. For example, a small live map on the upper right corner will show their explored area in real time. Unexplored areas will be in the dark. Their explored maps will be kept in my database. Besides the map system, I have created the assistive combat system to reduce their training period significantly. It is equivalent to a loophole that allows them to accelerate their combat learning experience. Then there are the mana system and bow system. These integrated systems will allow the gamers to have a higher level of combat experience. Yes, they are necessary. They were ineffective against the ancient gods' believers and died many times, didn't they? Sherlock nodded and said, if they are that weak, it's not beneficial to me. That's correct. In addition, Eternal Kingdom has expanded to twice its original size. Lord Sherlock has to come up with new excavation plans. If you wait until the third beta testing, the dungeon will be unable to accommodate the gamers with our current size, Brew suggested. How many gamers can you summon? Sherlock asked. For the third beta testing, I suggest 10,000 gamers with our existing functionalities, Brew replied quickly. 10,000? That's more than I expected. Then assign more daily excavation missions. Concentrate on the living quarters and delay excavations for the other areas, Sherlock said. I understand. Lord Sherlock, I have a suggestion. We've constructed the medicine concoction platform and magical items creation platform. Once the mana area is completed, we'll be able to commission its use. The medicine concoction platform will be operated by Little Fairy and Raintia. For the magical items creation platform, only Brainiac is a suitable candidate for its operation, so we have to reduce the workload of Brainiac. Brew continued saying, my suggestion is to overhaul the revival system that reduces two different methods of revival into a single direct revival using flesh regeneration. Only the gamers with a constitution upgrade will be able to choose the flesh regeneration revival. This will reduce Brainiac's workload, but it will use more of Lord Sherlock's mana. Let me consider it. Sherlock pondered. In addition, Brew said with concern, Lord Sherlock has to find an additional mana source. With 10,000 gamers in the third beta testing, Lord Sherlock may be able to cope, but when it comes to the fourth beta or the open beta, there may be tens of thousands to millions of gamers. Even if a few Satans were to combine their mana, it wouldn't be sufficient. I suggest building a mana pool or a sunwell to store excess mana. When mana is required, the mana storage can be used. Is there such a possibility? No, Sherlock said frankly. I can't create such facilities. Though there are mana storage devices, to supply mana to 10,000 gamers requires too much money and resources. Unless we can plant Yggdrasil or rob a current Yggdrasil. That is extremely difficult. Brew sighed and asked, Lord Sherlock, I have a small question. Do you know the son of the Grand Duke, Alexandria? Chapter 202. Pity on all father-in-laws. In the run-down meeting room of Winterfell, the wall damaged by the Black Dragon wasn't repaired. This was considered the best meeting room in Winterfell. A superior devil sat in the chair, and the room was lit by crude candles. After losing the dungeon core, Winterfell was in total darkness. I don't know him, the seated devil said calmly. What? Onionhead thought he heard wrongly and asked again, wait a moment, Lord Alexandria. If you don't know Lord Sherlock, why were you so concerned about him? To be precise, Lord Sherlock doesn't know me, but I know him or have heard about him. Alexandria, who was hidden in the shadows, said, I'm representing my father during my visit to Winterfell. On the other hand, I heard Lord Sherlock was here, so I came to take a look. As for the details, I can't divulge much. Onionhead frowned and said, I see, Lord Alexandria. Can I ask you another question? Of course. When the ancient gods' believers attacked us, where were you? Don't be mistaken, I'm not suspecting you, but weren't we at the same meeting? When we awoke, we were all naked, but when you appeared, you were all dressed up. Onionhead said as his eyes gleamed. I've already written a letter to the senior management of the Merchant Alliance. I know your doubts. Don't worry, I'm not part of the ancient gods. Alexandria laughed and said, After such an incident in Winterfell, it is doubtful if you can still be the dungeon lord. It's better to be concerned about your situation than mine. I'm leaving this place. If you're no longer the dungeon lord, come to my dad's dukedom. I feel that you're capable. Alexandria patted Onionhead's shoulder and left. The thin senior beast, who was behind Onionhead, looked fiercely at the insolent Alexandria. It was a pity that looks couldn't kill. After Alexandria left the meeting room, Beast punched rapidly in the air and started cursing. That Alexandria is too much. Father-in-law, how can you be dismissed? Winterfell was built from the ground up by you. Beast said fiercely, if he dares to appear before me, I'll remove all his teeth. Beast. Onionhead sat slumped in his chair and stared at the ceiling. I'm unable to take care of you. What? Father-in-law, what are you saying? You've married your daughter to me. You have to take care of me till I die. Beast said in fear. After this incident, the Merchant Alliance won't let me off. Soon, they will take action against me. In fact, I received information that I'll be sent into prison for corrective labor, Onionhead said softly. My daughter passed away early. You're the only one I'm worried about. Though you're not my son, I've treated you as my son. After I leave, there will be many creatures who don't like you. The new dungeon lord will not keep you. The main reason is that you have too many misgivings. Misgivings? What? Beast's eyes lit up, but Onionhead looked lovingly at Beast. Onionhead beckoned Beast to kneel down and caressed Beast's permed head as he said, though you are a good child who has permed hair, tattoos, and a smoking habit, I know your special interest in worshipping the sacred light. Beast looked fearful, but Onionhead said, don't worry, only I know about it and the cleaning lady, my secretary, the office worker Wong, garrison guard captain. Ah, and in a classmate gathering. Father-in-law. Beast knelt down in pain as he said regretfully, it wasn't intentional. I was taught the learning and worshipping of sacred light by a group of creatures. One time during our meeting, a few of them told me they would show me good stuff. Enough, I know you're a good kid at heart. I won't betray you, but I'm unable to protect you. Onionhead caressed Beast's head and said, resign and leave the Merchant Alliance. After your deeds are exposed, the Merchant Alliance won't let you off. Father-in-law, you have to save me. The Merchant Alliance may punish you by sending you to cut trees. No, I won't leave. I'll fight for the Merchant Alliance to my last breath. Beast looked determined, and his eyes lit up with anticipation. Preposterous. You have to go. I've arranged for your next home. Onionhead took out a letter and passed it to Beast. Go to Eternal Kingdom and look for Lord Sherlock. Forgo your salary and benefits. Remember to work hard every day. It's enough to have food and lodging. After I'm released from prison, I'll look for you. During this period, I'll ask Lord Sherlock to take care of you. Otherwise, the Merchant Alliance won't let you off. I understand. Beast stowed Onionhead's letter gravely. Onionhead said loudly, you're disgraceful. I know what you're planning just by looking at your eyes. Do you intend to give yourself up and cut trees after I'm imprisoned? Why aren't you repentant? Father-in-law, you'll swear by the name of the sacred light. Onionhead shouted fiercely. Beast wanted to resist, but after looking at Onionhead's gaze, he couldn't. He raised his hand and said tearfully, I, Beast, swear by the name of sacred light. 5 days later, in the Dungeon Lord main hall of Eternal Kingdom. So, that's the reason you're defecting to me? Sherlock listened to Beast's words and took the letter from Onionhead. To the respectable Lord Sherlock, Onionhead, 500,000 magic stones, 1,000 units of various ores, 1,000 units of wood, 10,000 sets of Winterfell equipment. Sherlock put down the letter that was laden with paternal love and looked at Beast as he stood up. Then Sherlock grabbed Eggface's wings, opened the door, and threw Eggface out. Sherlock placed his hand on Beast's sweaty shoulder and beckoned him to sit down before saying, Aia, I'm old friends with your father-in-law. Though we knew each other for a short period of time, we felt like close friends. It was as though we knew each other while we were in our mother's wombs. Treat this place like your home. Relax, and don't worry. The citizens of Eternal Kingdom are good, though a small portion of them are a bit strange. Please don't mind them. I know you're a great leader, so I'll arrange a leadership position for you. Yes, your salary and holidays. Beast gave a bitter smile and said, Lord Sherlock, my father-in-law is unable to be the Winterfell Dungeon Lord. After his dismissal, I'm likely to be implicated and be a wanted criminal. How can I ask for more? I understand. Don't worry, I'll arrange a suitable job for you. Sherlock nodded and said, follow me, I'll explain the details of the dungeon to you. Dragonborn stood at the entrance of the Dungeon Lord main hall. He was with other gamers who were looking inside. Just now, an orc rode a beetleman to Eternal Kingdom. The cloaked orc was covered in dust as he leapt off the beetleman. Then, he adjusted his cloak and smoked a uranium stick before swallowing it. With an unyielding look, he puffed out a mushroom cloud. Under the gazes of the gamers, he walked into the dungeon. Sherlock had received notification and waited at the entrance. After that, he led the orc into the hall for a discussion until now. A lot of gamers were wondering whether that was the new race being prepared for the third beta testing. Eggface was thrown out from the hall and subsequently taken away. The cauldron was set up to stew Eggface. Though it was called stewing, it was essentially a bath for Eggface. Dragonborn waited with the other gamers. After a long time, the door of the Dungeon Lord main hall was opened. Shirley brought Beast warmly to the gamers and said, this orc will be the head Sacred Light missionary. We'll build a Sacred Light worshipping chapel. Please applaud. Chapter 203. The Power of Sacred Light. Sherlock arranged for Beast to stay in an empty cave, then he assigned the gamers to build a house for him. The Sacred Light worshipping chapel would be built later. It was mentioned to give the gamers an idea. It would depend on Sherlock as to when the chapel was built. While Sherlock was making the arrangements, Brew was speaking excitedly in Sherlock's mind, but Sherlock ignored him. When Sherlock returned to the Dungeon Core main hall, Brew said, Lord Sherlock, this is too dangerous. Why did you open up the Grand Priest profession? If the power of Sacred Light is discovered by the other dungeons, they'll use it as a reason to revoke your devil status. Sherlock sat down and said, I'm not the one using the power of Sacred Light, why do they want to revoke my devil status? There will be 10,000 gamers during the third beta testing. If all of them use mana for combat, won't I be exhausted? Isn't it better to let some gamers use the power of Sacred Light? This sounds reasonable, but using Sacred Light in the Underworld is prohibited. It's the same principle as humans being tempted by devils and selling their souls. I'm merely letting them use the power of the Holy Lord or the power of Sacred Light. They don't have to sell their souls. They'll pray together with Beast and make confessions to the Lord and angels. I feel that it's pretty good. Sherlock said, this will enrich the gameplay, and I'm able to add a profession without spending money. Didn't the gamers complain of being sick of magicians, warriors, and archers on the forum? Being a Grand Priest is pretty good. Tisk, you don't look like a devil, but after pondering, you're such a devil, Bruce said thoughtfully. What is Lord Sherlock's plan for developing the Grand Priest profession? Do you want to make an announcement on the official website? That is a definite. As for the development of the Grand Priest, Sherlock said, I'll have to find a few laboratory rats. We'll see. Beast was bewildered as he sat in the cave. A few days ago, he was still in Winterfell, awaiting the arrangements of his father-in-law. Today, he was in Winterfell and chatted with Lord Sherlock, after which, he was arranged to stay in an empty cave. Sherlock even said, Are you a Grand Priest? Are you interested in developing the power of Sacred Light in my dungeon? What was that? A devil asking him to develop Sacred Light in his dungeon? It was like hearing that Sherlock intended to kill himself. That was Sacred Light. If he spread the gospel of Sacred Light, would other creatures agree? When Beast was doubting whether Sherlock was fooling him, numerous goblins, gnomes, and houndhead men with green words above their heads stood outside the cave. They were looking at him as though he was an animal in the zoo. Beast didn't feel that he was a caged animal in the zoo, he was just troubled whether Sherlock was fooling him. The group of creatures quickly dispersed, shouting as they left. Gosh, only 100 places for the first batch? Let's excavate quickly. Don't compete with me. I'll take over the project for that space. I'll kill whoever competes with me. Half of the creatures ran off, though a few goblins stood like fools while gaping at Beast. Beast didn't like to be watched. There were many of them before, so he had kept quiet, but now, there were only a few of them. As an orc, he stood up and walked over. Roar. Beast roared at the goblins, thinking his roar was rather imposing and could intimidate them. The goblins were taken aback by the roar and started talking. Gosh, it gave me a fright. Why is the NPC scaring us? Let's go. There's no more plot animation, I guess. After being scared by Beast, the last few goblins ran off. What were the goblins going to do? Of course, they were going to excavate diligently. Though Sherlock wanted the gamers to know about the power of sacred light, it was impossible to spread the gospel within this short period of time. The requirement was devoutness. Since their souls were left back in the Otherworld, when they prayed for the power of sacred light, it was a question mark whether there would be any responses. Sherlock would create a mission to let the gamers do construction enthusiastically. With the current size of the dungeon, accommodating 10,000 gamers was impossible. If the basic facilities weren't constructed, there would be no third beta testing. Sherlock wasn't in a hurry. Brew was still assimilating the Winterfell dungeon core and refining the assistive system like maps and the assistive combat system. They would only be completed after a month. The game's mission was: mission title, The Power of Sacred Light. Preface. Mission description. Eternal Kingdom received a guest from Winterfell. He is different from other underworld creatures as he possesses the unusual power of sacred light. Though the power can be uncontrollable and cause irreversible effects, the threat of the Void Legion is growing by the day. Lord Sherlock decided to risk accepting this power to save the underworld. Warriors, it is time to accept the challenge. Are you prepared to receive the power of sacred light? Mission objective. Every day, a tally will be taken for construction-related missions. The gamers with the most construction-related missions will receive the Power of Sacred Light mission. After a month, the 100 gamers with the most construction-related missions will also receive the Power of Sacred Light mission. Mission title: The Power of Sacred Light. Mission description. This is a power from the Holy Lord, which is different from the Devil's power. You are required to have a faithful and devout heart to be enlightened with the power of sacred light. The power intensity is dependent on your spiritual quality and devoutness. After obtaining the power of sacred light, you will be unable to use the Devil's power and mana. Mission requirement. Only the top daily construction gamer and 100 top monthly gamers will receive this mission. Mission reward. Receive the power of sacred light. That was what the gamers would receive for the mission. Instead of gaping at Beast at the cave entrance and waiting for the impossible strange encounter mission, it was better for the gamers to work hard in the construction missions. It was simpler than fighting monsters. Soon, the gamers forgot about the battle campaign in Winterfell and started carrying bricks diligently. Eternal Kingdom went through a golden period of construction with the help of the passionate gamers. On the morning of the second day, Beast woke up early. He surveyed the dilapidated surroundings and the dark dungeon environment outside. He still wasn't used to the environment. He stood up, rubbed his face, and wanted to wash up. He had only walked out of the cave when he saw a gnome carrying water and food at the entrance. It was Yoda. "Are you Senior Beast?" Yoda walked forward and said, "I'm Yoda. I was once a Winterfell mana engineer. You may not have an impression of me, but I always saw you in meetings. You're the Winterfell office supervisor. Why are you here in Eternal Kingdom?" Yoda looked at the puzzled Beast and the food he held in his hands. Then he quickly explained, "I saw you yesterday. As there were too many creatures, I didn't have a chance to greet you. Then it was too late, so I didn't disturb you. Since it's your first time here and you're not familiar with the environment, I thought I'd bring you around." "Thank you." Beast was grateful, and he asked, "Did Lord Sherlock send you to bring me around?" "Lord Sherlock? No, I came here on my own." Of course, I have some favors to ask of you. My sons and daughters are of schooling age. Though I can bribe using money to get them into the best schools, with your recommendation, the teachers will be more enthusiastic." I do have my personal motives. Since Winterfell has encountered such a calamity, you'll be very busy. How's your work?" Yoda asked with embarrassment. Work is pretty good. Let me have something to eat," Beast muttered awkwardly. He was unable to reconcile the fact that he was no longer an office supervisor. He was even feeling sad. Sherlock had brought along a group of goblins, gnomes, and houndhead men. To be exact, he only brought a goblin. The rest were just following curiously. Yoda noticed Sherlock and bowed to Beast before walking towards him. Beast saw Sherlock talking to Yoda for a while. Then Yoda nodded and left. Sherlock walked before Beast and pushed a goblin to the front. Sherlock said to Beast, "This is the most hard-working and devout goblin. Let him try to see if he can use the power of sacred light." Chapter 204. Sacred light baptism. Beast couldn't believe his eyes. A superior devil brought a goblin to let him test the power of sacred light? Was he being fooled? Since when could the power of sacred light be discussed in such grandiose? And with that many creatures? How many creatures were there? Hundreds to thousands? Beast was nervous. He thought Sherlock was fooling him. He was tricked once during the ancient ruins incident. He thought his belief in sacred light would be secret, but Sherlock got to know this, and even his father-in-law knew about it. A goblin dashed forward and said to Beast devoutly, "Ah, Senior Beast, I'm willing to accept your baptism. The sacred light baptism." The creatures at the side started shouting. "Gosh, it's preposterous and stinky. This dungeon stinks. I don't wish to stay any longer. Wah, with this kind of a name, how can I be a sacred knight? It's Grand Priest. Can I use red tea? Ha 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 ha. What a good laughing point for the game." The gamers didn't chat for long as Sherlock exerted his dominant aura to restrain them. Sherlock walked out and said to Beast, "This is the Winterfell believer of the Holy Lord. The power of sacred light is not welcomed in the Underworld, but to defeat the Void Legion, we have to resort to this power. Beast, please bestow the power on them. They need you. They need the power of sacred light." The gamers recovered their speech and started shouting. "DMN, the stench is killing me. Why are you called Beast? I don't care about the ancient gods or Void Legion. I want to complain about the NPC's name. I reject such a stinking sacred light. I feel it's pretty good. I don't see any problem." Sherlock smiled and said to Beast, "See, they're welcoming you warmly." Beast looked at the green-skinned creatures who set up a huge cauldron filled with water. Then they formed a circle with Sherlock at the side. Beast thought Sherlock was fooling him, but he saw that the gamers were extremely respectful towards him and passionate about the sacred light. He was touched. Though it was dangerous to preach the sacred light to the underworld inhabitants, he was already in a precarious situation, and he couldn't care less. Sherlock knew his background. If he didn't cooperate, Sherlock could report his crime to the Merchant Alliance. Would he not be doomed? The main point was that, as a Holy Lord believer, if he had the chance to preach the Holy Lord's gospel and the power of sacred light, who could resist such temptation? "Since you are earnest in receiving the sacred Lord's love, then be mentally prepared," Beast said devoutly. "Later, I'll bless this cauldron of underground water and use the water to baptize you. During the process, you'll relive your life process. If heaven thinks that you're kind and qualified, then you'll be halfway through the sacred light gateway. When you worship the sacred light, you'll be fully through the gateway. Are you ready, Goblin?" "I'm ready." The Goblin, Chongzhou Winterhorse, nodded solemnly. "There are neither chapel nor baptism tools here, and the conditions are crude, but if you're devout, there'll be no problem." "Come forward, Goblin," Beast said. He drew a triangle on his chest. Then he held Chongzhou Winterhorse's hand and closed his eyes. After, he asked sincerely, "What do you wish for?" "I wish for power, equipment, reputation points, and game coins. If possible, I hope to be reincarnated as a cool superior devil, like Shirley." Beast frowned and asked, "What benefits do they bring you?" "I can be cool," Chongzhou Winterhorse replied. "Be cool? Forget it. If you want to worship the sacred Lord and be his servant, listen to his gospel. You shall not scold or attack Holy Lord believers. Be progressive and learn diligently. Then you'll get full marks in science subjects and be a useful person in society." "Can you do that?" Beast asked seriously. "What the heck? That difficult?" Chongzhou Winterhorse blurted out, but he quickly said, "No problem, I like learning. I'll be in discomfort if I don't learn for a day." The gathered gamers spoke in agreement. 666. "You're awesome. You're like me, a philomath. Only learning can show our true value. I feel like cutting down a tall tree. Leave the calculus to me. Don't compete with me." The game's discussion stopped very soon as Sherlock raised his hand to beckon them to be silent. They had to give Shirley face. After everyone became quiet, Beast said, "Always remember your vows. Child, you'll receive my baptism. What you've done over your entire life will be judged fairly. Even if you pay with your life, you'll not regret it." "That's right, I'll not regret it," Chongzhou Winterhorse said seriously. "Very good, my child. May the Holy Lord bless you." Beast put his hand into the water, and sacred light illuminated Beast's body. Then, the sacred light went into the water. Sherlock was illuminated by the reflected rays of the sacred light. He stepped back silently and hid in the shadows. Beast cupped some water in his hands and scattered the water on Changzhou Winterhorse's face. Has it ended? Just as Changzhou Winterhorse finished speaking, Beast held the back of his skull and pushed his head into the water. Changzhou Winterhorse struggled for a while, but he remembered he felt no pain. He remained submerged in the water and held his breath. His mind flashed with various images. When he was young, he played with fire at night and put the stink bug into the flames. When he was young, he played with firecrackers and put them in the cow feces. When he was in kindergarten, he lifted the girls' skirts. When he was in elementary school, he stole stationery from his classmate. When he was in middle school, he cheated. When he saw an old granny fall down, he didn't help her. He intentionally ran red lights, spat and smoked in public, drank liquor at an illegal age, visited internet cafes, failed examinations, bickered with his mom, wasted food, didn't help with household chores, and had a procrastination habit. When his mind flashed with images that looked like a slideshow, he recalled all the bad things he had done. Of course, there were some good things as well. He reported his classmates cheating and his dormitory mate for skipping classes. He caused the elementary students to lose a competition and gloated for reporting all the students in the internet cafe. When he met pretty gals selling expensive fake wine, he used his credit card to pay so that they could have a good life. When all was peaceful, Changzhou Winterhorse saw himself sitting in a classroom. An object with brilliance stood before him, and a voice came from afar. Wanggang examination set 1 with a duration of an hour. Changzhou Winterhorse lowered his head and looked at the examination script. DMN. In the game world, after some time, Beast pulled up the motionless Changzhou Winterhorse and muttered unintelligibly. Beast placed him on the ground and touched him a few times. When he was sure Changzhou Winterhorse couldn't be saved, he announced with regret, "My friend here didn't pass the Sacred Lord's test. He didn't have a passionate, learning, and open heart, so he was eliminated from this world. Remember, it's not only your choice of selecting the sacred light is also selecting you. Be a choice of the sacred light, then you'll have the qualification to use the power of sacred light. It's a cruel baptism process." Sherlock nodded and clapped his hands. He said to the gaping gamers, "Okay, the sacred light baptism shall end for today. Everyone, please go back and prepare. I believe you'll do better the next time." The gamers left noisily, dragging the drowned Changzhou Winterhorse to Brainiac for revival. After most of the gamers had left, Sherlock spoke to Beast for a while before leaving. Tisk, tisk, it's a difficult test. This is the first time I saw a baptism. Did those wielders of sacred light go through the same ritual? Brew asked when Sherlock arrived at the Dungeon Lord main hall. This is my first experience too. The feeling is mystical, Sherlock said thoughtfully. Changzhou Winterhorse looked like he was in agony. I'm very curious, Brew said with regret. In regards to the Sacred Light update, we may have to wait longer. Lord Sherlock, we have to ensure that the gamers are able to receive the power of Sacred Light. Chapter 205. King of Voluminous Questions. In a dim room, a computer was on a table. The computer was in screensaver mode while numerous books were placed on the table with the following titles. Third-Year College Examination 5-Year Series, Wanggang Secret Manual, Advanced Mathematics Examination Questions Research, and College Examination Full Score Composition Compilation. And various supplementary books. An open book was on the side with a drawing of an ugly green monster and the words, "Gnome, take a spear hit." Take a spear hit opened his eyes and sat up. While he was lying down, walls were built around him and a ceiling constructed above him. There were other gnomes, goblins, and houndhead men lying in the house. The ceiling had a small hole and a ladder attached to it so that they could access the second floor. For the second floor, the walls weren't constructed. During this period of time, there were the battle campaign scenario and the new areas for exploration, so the gamers didn't have time to build their house. Take a Spear Hit was with Springfield Flower Kindergarten. The guild members had accumulated resources to purchase their guild land. Later, the guild leader and his loyalists defected to Dragon Raja, so Dragonborn became the new guild leader. After that, conflicts of land ensued. As the previous guild leader defected with his loyalists, they demanded a refund on their private lands. Dragonborn and his guild members had to find new land to settle down. It was fortunate that they helped each other. The Dragon Raja Guild also helped with the negotiation, which was resolved after a few days. The problem was that Take a Spearhead had new roommates. He didn't recognize the sleeping gnomes around him. Take a Spearhead, gosh, you didn't come online yesterday. A gnome dragonborn and a houndhead man Sealhead Ling Chong ran in just as Take a Spearhead stood up. Sealhead Ling Chong spoke loudly, but it was harmless since the other gamers were offline while they slept in the game. They wouldn't be awakened by noises. Gosh, I've been studying all day. Take a Spearhead shouted. You're studying? Is the college examination 2 days later? Dragonborn was taken aback and asked, sorry, most of the gamers are either undergraduates or professionals. We haven't heard of college students. Aren't you an undergraduate? I'm a first-year undergraduate. I'm not studying for the college examination, I'm doing it for the power of sacred light. Take a Spearhead said, I found my goal. With my poor luck, I won't be able to obtain the Mana Skills book and be a magician. Then, I saw on the forum that Changzhou Winterhorse and the veteran gamers had to take an examination to obtain the power of sacred light. I finally understand that luck is secondary. The most important thing is capability. If I study hard, I'll be able to answer the questions. It's not a matter of luck anymore. Gosh, since when did you become so spirited and ambitious? Dragonborn was dazed, but Take a Spearhead said, I've always been spirited and ambitious. You've always looked down on me. I've decided, my goal is to be a grand priest. I'll obtain the power of sacred light. Stop bluffing. Veteran hemp rope technology is receiving the sacred light baptism. Let's hurry over to watch. There should be no problem. The three of them stopped chatting and proceeded to the cave where Beast was staying. That location had become a temporary baptism site. In simple terms, it was the profession change location for sacred knight or grand priest. There were lots of gathered gamers. For the past few days, all the candidates for baptism had failed. As the wisest representative with excellent scientific knowledge, hemp rope technology brought the gamers on a brave and irreversible journey of discovering shocking gnome technology. Hemp rope technology wasn't interested in combat, but to challenge the test of the sacred light, he chose to carry bricks diligently. With everybody's effort, they managed to make hemp rope technology the top gamer for daily construction missions. Hence, hemp rope technology was brought by Sherlock to Beast for the sacred light baptism. Beast had conducted baptism for 8 gamers, but all of them failed. They had issues regarding learning attitude, so they weren't qualified by the sacred light. In the Underworld, it was considered crazy and decadent behavior to be passionate about learning. Beast didn't cherish any hope for the gnomes, goblins, and houndhead men. Enlightening them with the power of sacred light was too difficult. But Lord Sherlock would still bring a group of excited gamers to him for baptism. Even if Beast had given up hope in his heart, he didn't decline in action. He looked at the goblin that was laden with bladders. Like before, he asked, What do you wish for? I wish for knowledge. What benefits does knowledge brings you? Knowledge makes me strong. If you want to worship the sacred Lord and be his servant, listen to his gospel. You shall not scold or attack Holy Lord believers. Be progressive and learn diligently. Then you'll get full marks in science subjects and be a useful person in society. Can you do that? I have done that. Beast saw that the goblin was confident, but he was indifferent. The previous candidates bluffed their way through, but did they not drown during the baptism? They were yearning for the power and not passionate about learning. Beast put his hand in the water. Like before, Beast was illuminated with sacred light. Even the cauldron water was luminous. Are you ready? Beast grabbed the back of the goblin's skull and touched his forehead with the goblin's forehead as he said, May the Holy Lord bless this child. Then he pushed the goblin's head into the water. The goblin didn't have any initial reaction. After a while, his fingers moved, and the crowd became hysterical. Gosh, that was mental arithmetic. What's that about? Mental arithmetic. That's a technique of a true master. He's able to calculate the answers without a calculator or rough paper. He only touches his fingers. Didn't you watch it on television? Didn't they use that for special effects on television? No. Most of them aren't just for special effects. That's too awesome. Oh my god. Take a Spearhead looked puzzledly at hemp rope technology, who was receiving baptism. Everyone waited for the result. Beast waited for 10 minutes before pulling hemp rope technology up. During the 10 minutes, hemp rope technology had been touching his fingers to do mental arithmetic. After being pulled up, hemp rope technology relaxed his fingers. Beast put hemp rope technology carefully on the ground and did resuscitation to revive him. After doing a complete set of resuscitation, Beast shook his head with regret. The gamers became quiet for a while before being hysterical again. How difficult are the questions? Shucks, if hemp rope technology can't solve the questions, then we'll have no chance. Is the game producer fooling us again? Perhaps there's a hidden conspiracy. I'm a 30-year-old man. I practiced the questions the whole of last night. I have been cheated. It's a pity, but this brother didn't pass the Holy Lord's test. Beast shook his head. Then, hemp rope technology suddenly became luminous with sacred light. Sherlock took a step back as the sacred light was too bright. In the sacred light, hemp rope technology's hollow voice came from a distance. I saw Galileo, Charles Darwin half kneeling by my throne, Newton and Emperor Qin Shi Huang in school uniforms guarding by the side. Wang Anshi is blowing the coronation horn. Qin Shi Ji and Bismarck led millions as they submit to my rule. Avogadro is crowning me. Hemp rope technology landed steadily on the ground. On his head were various figures of scientific geniuses: Newton, Charles Darwin, Galileo, Einstein, Stephen Hawking, Tesla, Faraday. In addition, there were various formulas: C equals Q, U, E equals mx squared, Fe plus V equals 2, ds is greater than or equal to 0. Hemp rope technology's eyes were filled with a brilliance that showed extreme intelligence and rationale. A faint image of a compass appeared on his left hand, while his right hand held a book with the title Historical Records. Behind him was a knowledge hall. He shouted loudly, "I am the king of voluminous questions." Awesome, this is awesome. I finally understand why when the devils in the heavens were born, they were at odds. In this situation, it's hard for them to maintain peace. After seeing hemp rope technology being crowned by the sacred light, Bruce said excitedly, "If I'm given a choice, I'll choose the devil's camp. As decadence, is more relaxed. Life should be relaxed and casual to be enjoyable. I don't understand what you're saying. I didn't expect these gamers to be such decadent creatures." Sherlock lifted his head with worry. Outside the dungeon lord main hall, there was hectic shouting. "I want to learn. I'm passionate about learning. Whoever stops me from learning, I'll kill him. Today, nobody's going to stop me from learning. Quick, give me questions. I'm able to do more." And other similar shouts. On the discussion forum, there was a prominent post. Large number of questions online. You can also be crowned with sacred light. Chapter 206. Preparation for update. When hemp rope technology was enlightened with the power of sacred light, he tested the power and hammered a gamer who was sent flying. After that, the gamers started to like learning. Besides mathematics, the gamers also studied other subjects. The power of sacred light was different from mana in that it couldn't be controlled. The power was mainly used to strengthen one's own body. A goblin who could send a gnome flying was very strong, at least in the eyes of the gamers. After the baptism, Beast talked to hemp rope technology on the effects of the sacred light. The power of sacred light wasn't limited to the strengthening of bodies. Sherlock was on the discussion forum when he noticed hemp rope technology's post. Introducing the sacred light profession, Sacred Knight. My profession has been successfully converted to a sacred knight. The game officials haven't announced this profession. According to Beast, the correct term was Grand Priest. This name is too low profile, so I decided to call it Sacred Knight. It sounds grander and more classy. I will discuss the Sacred Knight's profession, combat, and daily mission performance. Let me make this clear, I have never participated in combat training. Even now, my weapon level is at 1. Besides daily missions, I am able to do research. After inventing the bladder bombs, I am very curious about the unlimited reality of the game physics engine. I have been thinking of creating a nuclear explosion. That is only an idea. I didn't expect a non-combat gamer like me to find suitable gameplay. That is the power of sacred light. The greater my learning power and passion for learning, the greater my power of sacred light. According to Beast, my enlightenment of the sacred light was unprecedented. During the enlightenment, I felt myself standing on the shoulders of countless scientific geniuses. That feeling was mystical. Thank you, Dungeon, for allowing me to interact spiritually with those geniuses. I will explain the details of obtaining the power of sacred light. First, you have to create the chance for baptism. The most practical way is to be the monthly top 100 gamers for construction missions. The top 100 gamers who complete the most construction missions for that month will receive a chance for baptism. The baptism procedure is simple. Report to Beast, who will prepare a huge cauldron of water. After using the sacred light to bless the water, he will push your head into the water. Do not struggle in the water as it is useless. Beast is very proficient. Once he grabbed the back of my skull, there was no way to struggle. In the water, the ugliest and most honorable events in your life will flash by. Then, it's answering the questions. Everyone is able to perform this step. Beast told me discreetly that evil creatures who have skin ulcers on the soles will fail immediately. For example, Shirley wouldn't even have the chance to do the questions. I'm not sure why he's so confident, but this may be a hidden plot. Please take note, there may be a strange encounter mission. The next point is answering the questions. After confirming that you're not an evil creature that is beyond hope, you will be given a chance to do the questions, which cover all the things that you have learned. Because I collated the questions that the other gamers and I had, I discovered that the questions weren't standardized. They were taken from all your knowledge. I feel that the test isn't about how good your knowledge is but your passion for learning and your grasp on your understanding. To make it simple, if you have good learning habits, your chance of passing the test will increase tremendously. Do not chase after the answers to difficult questions. It's the attitude, that is the key. Even if you're a moron, if you have a passionate and open heart for learning, you will obtain the power of sacred light. Those were Beast's words. I feel that it is similar to the encouragement given by the teachers. In fact, if you are passionate about learning, with a human intellect, obtaining a high grade is quite easy. The higher the examination score, the greater the power of sacred light. The third point is the combat effects of sacred light. I calculated carefully. My strength and reaction speed increased 5 times within a short period of time. I am still unable to maintain the power of sacred light for a long period. I can only maintain the sacred light for about 3 minutes, and that is considered impressive. Only learning will improve productivity. Students, please revise all your textbooks and exercise books. Don't depend on luck. You will be tested on all your previous knowledge. In addition, classes are available in the discussion forum and in the game. Sherlock closed the page containing the post. They were too decadent. What more could be said? Lord Sherlock, your strategy is successful. Is the power of the Holy Lord that strong? Can a creature obtain such strong power just after baptism? Brew asked thoughtfully. No, I haven't seen hemp rope technology's power of sacred light before. Sherlock shook his head and said, I don't understand the situation of the surface world since I haven't been up there for a long time. Eggface opened the door to the room and walked in. As Sherlock's secretary, Eggface had never learned to knock on the door. It's terrible outside. Oh my God, a goblin is filled with sacred light. Eggface muttered as he struggled to move his fat and short legs. He walked to the counter and searched for a long time. He was taken aback and looked at Sherlock as he asked, Where's my bloody chrysanthemum tea? Sherlock stood up, grabbed Eggface's wings, opened the door, and threw him out. Good, it's quiet now. Sherlock sat down and accessed the discussion forum. Then he typed furiously on the keyboard. It's time for a new update. After working for half a day, he completed his latest update. He checked the contents carefully before publishing it. Dungeon. Eternal Kingdom, Update Log version 0.22. Chapter 207. Update Log version 0.22. Dungeon. Eternal Kingdom, Update Log version 0.22. Dungeon. Eternal Kingdom, version 0.22 official update. Warriors, you have successfully beaten back the ancient god's army and saved Winterfell at a critical period. The Underworld is cheering your names. We have a period of precious peace in Eternal Kingdom. Your pace of advancement will not slow down. Added many pieces of new equipment, Winterfell series equipment. Eternal Kingdom received large amounts of equipment from Winterfell. Gamers can buy Winterfell standard equipment from the blacksmith shop and carpenter workshop. Amended the Winterfell equipment prices. We lowered the Winterfell equipment prices as the warehouses are overflowing with the equipment. Added a new area, the industrial area. The industrial area is near the commercial area. It's currently being excavated. All future equipment smelting and forging and other metal and wood product creation will be concentrated in the industrial area. Added a new structure, large furnace. The impressive structure of Eternal Kingdom, which spans a height of 10 meters. It will be opened in the near future. The large furnace occupies the entire middle portion of the industrial area. The mana engineering and forging activities will be carried out at the large furnace. Gamers do not need to queue up at Simba's blacksmith shop. Added a new area, the mana area. Mana usage is getting popular in Eternal Kingdom. Gamers are able to use mana skills to facilitate daily activities like cultivation, forging, and cooking. In the Underworld, mana skills are part of a gamer's life. In the future, you will encounter mana formations, mana powder with various functions, magical items like magic wands that increase mana skills, magician robes, special mana oils that add magical effects to weapons, and short-lived mana released from mana scrolls and healing potions. They will be produced in the mana area. Added a new structure, medicine concoction platform. The products derived from plants can be made into various potions. If you are friendly with Little Fairy, you can learn how to make potions before a potion specialist comes on board. The medicine concoction platform is located in the mana area. Added a new structure, alchemy platform. The products derived from plants and other raw materials can be used to make alchemy products. Brainiac will teach you simple alchemy skills. Perhaps you will be able to use magic powder to send information to each other. A gamer added a new structure, Eggface's nest. Eggface will be staying in the area between the commercial area and industrial area. To accommodate his rapid growth, please excavate a larger nest. A gamer added a new structure, Succubus's little house. Please construct the house according to Evelyn's requirements. She is the only succubus, please take care of her. A gamer added a new structure, Beast's little house. Just build a simple house for Beast since orcs are easily satisfied. A gamer added a new building, Sacred Light Worshipping Chapel. We are not very sure of the details. Get the instructions from Beast for the construction. Added new legendary equipment, Winterfell Mysterious Loot, the equipment of the Werewolf Commander. Gamers can reserve the equipment via the auctions. There are only 3 reforged pieces of equipment, which are a breastplate, short sword, and plate leggings. Added new functional flying device, the XX airship. As seen by the gamers, this is the airship that made its debut in Winterfell. We have not thought of a good name. We are asking all gamers and forum members to suggest a good name. Added a new profession, Sacred Knight. It was originally called Grand Priest, but everyone seems to prefer Sacred Knight. Gamers can perform daily construction missions to be the top gamers for either the daily or monthly tally. That will obtain them a chance to go through the Sacred Light test. If you are successful, you will be able to obtain the Sacred Light blessing and power. The currently known test is various examination questions. I hope that everyone can obtain 100 marks. As for the usage of the power, gamers have to find out for themselves. Added a new bug, Eggface on a strike. As Eggface isn't satisfied with the recent food quality, the Houndhead Man reincarnation project will be subjected to a bug. If you completed the Houndhead Man mission but are unable to be reincarnated, please give Eggface a good treat to solve the bug. Added a new group effort, I'm not sure of this. I will leave it blank. When I think of it, I will add it. Like before, Sherlock's post garnered lots of enthusiastic replies. Million-year otaku. I don't believe you, you bad old man. I'm about to become a Houndhead Man when suddenly you have a bug? Abnormal supervising researcher. I'm very excited, the legendary equipment is going to be auctioned. Seeking mystical white. It has nothing to do with us. It's an auction for the rich. Cressfire. Can you add an alias system to the game? Pigeon Expert Chopper Heavenly Retirement Officer. When is the PvP system going to be updated? Weren't ladder tournament, group, and personal PvP mentioned in the previous updates? But now we only have guild PvP. Always trust. I know the reasons. Is there a date for the 3rd beta testing? Will befriend 16 to 25-year-old beautiful gals. Look at my name. Melee_invincible. Shirley's awesome. I saw not wearing pants post. Shirley's cool. While Sherlock was browsing his post, there were 3 letters being thrown out by the flames in the dungeon core. Sherlock didn't expect to receive 3 letters. The first letter was, to Eternal Kingdom's Dungeon Lord Sherlock, Northern Gladiator Arena. Dearest Lord Sherlock, old friend, I haven't heard from you for a long time. I thought you forgot about our agreement, then I heard that you courageously led the gladiators to save Winterfell. That is exhilarating news. We can use this gimmick for advertising. The warriors who defeated the ancient god's army to fight in the arena. If you are willing to let your warriors be our models for the new advertisement, then many spectators will be enticed. Of course, there will be remuneration in magic stones for the job. The board of directors has come up with new gimmicks for the arena. If you have time, do visit us. Love from Northern Gladiator Arena. To Eternal Kingdom's Dungeon Lord Sherlock, Professor Bacon, Spectre College. Dearest Lord Sherlock, old friend, I haven't heard from you for a long time. I thought you forgot about me, then I heard that you courageously led the examination combatants to save Winterfell. That is exhilarating news, but Lord Sherlock, those gnomes, goblins, and houndhead men have become outrageously strong. There were many strange behaviors, like using mana. We recorded the scenes using adamantine rocks. I hope that Lord Sherlock will visit Spectre College so that we can discuss the issues. Send my regards to Brainiac. I hope that he is working well in the dungeon. Love from Professor Bacon. This was the last letter. The workmanship was very exquisite. To Eternal Kingdom's Dungeon Lord Sherlock, Baron Nicholas. Dearest Lord Sherlock, thank you, Lord Sherlock, for saving Winterfell and all of us from the ancient gods. I am not representing the Merchant Alliance in this letter. As the earliest merchant to deal with Eternal Kingdom, I should have visited Lord Sherlock to discuss the merchant band route. But I was busy recently. In the coming future, I will bring my merchant band to visit Lord Sherlock. I hope we can establish a fixed merchant band route. I prepared an unexpected gift for you. Love from Baron Lassie. Sherlock looked at the 3 letters and put them aside grudgingly. Things were piling up. Chapter 208. Raw Vegetables Inquiry. At the Spectre College main gate entrance. Pa-ta, 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 pom. A strong beetleman ran quickly and stopped at the entrance of Spectre College. A cloaked lich stood at the entrance, waiting. When he saw a devil coming down from the beetleman, he went forward to welcome him. Lord Sherlock, apologies for not welcoming you at the training grounds. The school has been having meetings for the past few days. Apologies for not welcoming you personally. Professor Bacon was greeting Sherlock warmly. Thank you, Professor Bacon. I understand that you have meetings and matters to deal with. We'll do away with the formalities. Thank you, Lord Sherlock, for your understanding. Professor Bacon was feeling gratified and guilty at the same time. Yes, when you attend our graduation meeting, you may have to record a lot of information. I've prepared a secretary for you. Professor Bacon was about to shout for the secretary, but Sherlock raised his hand and said, "It's not necessary. I've brought my own secretary." Behind him, the fat egg face crawled down from the beetleman. His front claws were grasping a briefcase, and a pair of spectacles was perched in front of his eyes. If Eggface's brash personality was discounted, he looked like a secretary. Professor Bacon's eyes lit up when he saw Eggface. He said to Sherlock excitedly, "Lord Sherlock is very capable. After setting up the dungeon for a few short months, you're already recruiting black dragons." "Oh, it's nothing much. It's just a small dragon," Sherlock said modestly. Then he shouted, "Eggface, this is Professor Bacon." "Greetings, Professor Bacon," Eggface shouted as he adjusted the spectacles, which didn't have any lenses, on his nose. He squeezed his wings and bowed deeply to Bacon. "Ah, you're very courteous." Professor Bacon was shocked. He lowered his head and bowed. Sherlock was here to attend the meeting and not watch both of them bow to each other. Professor Bacon led them to the meeting room. Previously, Professor Bacon visited Winterfell or Eternal Kingdom to meet Sherlock, but this time, he invited Sherlock to the school for a meeting. The graduation issues weren't boding well. It was just as expected by Sherlock. Sherlock and Eggface followed Professor Bacon to the meeting room. They saw a long table seated with skeletons, who were Spectre College's professors or management staff. The lich sitting at the helm was the principal. Professor Bacon introduced Sherlock and greeted all the liches in the meeting room. Sherlock greeted them solemnly and sat down. Eggface also sat down and said to a nearby lich, "I'd like to have a cup of bloody chrysanthemum tea." The lich was dumbstruck, but he quickly went to get a cup of bloody chrysanthemum tea and placed it in front of Sherlock. Then Eggface extended his claws and pulled the tea away. He finished the tea noisily and licked his lips with satisfaction. He asked, "Do you have more?" While the other liches were in a daze, a lich with the name Raw Vegetables, who was sitting opposite Sherlock, stood up and gazed firmly at him. "Are you Lord Sherlock?" "Ah, we were introduced just now." Sherlock nodded. "Lord Sherlock, I hope we can deal with the issues seriously. Though you are helping us with the graduation issues, if you maintain such a poor attitude, I'm afraid we won't be able to collaborate any further. In fact, due to your combatants, our graduation rate didn't increase. Instead, it has plummeted." The lich, Raw Vegetables, said loudly, "Due to the contractual agreement, the equipment of the liches was taken away by your combatants. Though the equipment wasn't worth a lot, it feels like the college has cheated them of their equipment. The crux is the graduation problem. The parents of the students came to the college numerous times to protest. That, Madam Raw Vegetables, if the students are unable to graduate, that's not a bad thing either, as the college can collect school fees," the principal said with a pacifying tone. Madam Raw Vegetables slammed on the table and shouted loudly, "Principal, please be more serious. We are discussing a practical issue. If we don't solve this issue, the reputation of Spectre College will be adversely affected." The principal was scolded by Madam Raw Vegetables, and he kept quiet. "I don't think the problem you raised is a problem. 2 liches are to fight against 5 goblins. Even if the goblins are swapped with gnomes, aren't 4 liches supposed to fight the gnomes?" Sherlock said calmly, "According to norms, liches are supposed to be commanders on the battlefield, controlling the Spectre army to attack the enemies. If they can't even defeat common goblins, then such graduated liches will be of poor quality, don't you think so?" The other liches started discussing. "Quiet, keep quiet." The principal raised his hand and controlled the chaotic situation. "You have a valid point." Madam Raw Vegetables took out an adamantine rock and placed it on the table. With an infusion of mana, images started appearing. In the images, a few gnomes cut open several bladders. A half-naked gnome sang strange incantations and activated mana before charging at the skeleton boss. After a huge explosion, the entire image was filled with an inferno. Then the images stopped. Chapter 209. Level A and B of the graduation examination. Besides the video of the gnome making an explosion, Madam Raw Vegetables also used the adamantine rock to show the gnomes setting traps, digging through the ground and smearing oil so that the boss and even they themselves were unable to stand upright while they tried to slide and kill the boss. The adamantine rock also showed the gnomes using mana fireballs and various mana skills to kill the boss. "Lord Sherlock, are those your common gnomes, goblins, and houndhead men?" Madam Raw Vegetables gazed authoritatively at Sherlock without fear of the superior devil's status. Eggface was at the side, drinking a new cup of bloody chrysanthemum tea noisily. "Madam Raw Vegetables, I'd like to ask a personal question. How many years has it been since you've been to the outside world? I mean, how many years have you taught in Spectre College?" Sherlock asked, not at all intimidated. "Is that a relevant question?" Madam Raw Vegetables frowned. "Lord Sherlock, Madam Raw Vegetables is a professor with hundreds of years of teaching experience. She has always been cautious and conscientious," Professor Bacon said. "Like I thought, a dedicated professor like Madam Raw Vegetables isn't in touch with the outside world. Like we've always said, times have changed." Sherlock pointed at Eggface and said, "Even the small black dragon is coming out to work. It's not hard to understand gnomes, goblins, and houndhead men learning some mana skills. There are many gnomes who are great magicians. Goblins and houndhead men are less intelligent, but that doesn't mean they can't learn. Millions of years ago, wasn't the Underworld a place where everyone was killing each other? And aren't we sitting down having a meeting now?" The meeting room erupted with another round of discussion. "Quiet, quiet," the principal shouted. When it was quiet, the principal said to Sherlock, "What Lord Sherlock said is reasonable, but if the combatants are too powerful, the college will face difficulties. As you know, the parents aren't as easygoing as previous times. It won't be easy to pacify them." The principal sighed, and Sherlock felt empathy. After defeating the ancient gods, there was a period of chaos. The liches used to be on the side of the ancient gods. All the dungeons were in conflict, and they resorted to using liches as the main battle force. Hence, the liches were rapidly accepted by the Underworld. The lich students were being recruited even before they graduated, and they participated in a real battle for their graduation examinations. Professor Raw Vegetables, Principal, and all professors. Sherlock stood up and said, I have the same thinking as you. That is to let the Lich students graduate as soon as possible after studying for tens of years, to allow them to contribute to society as a useful skeleton. But reality is cruel. If the college is like a normal school that goes after profit and a high graduation rate, then the quality of the Liches will be questionable. Even if the Liches graduate, they will harm the reputation of the college that has been established for millions of years. Before the professors started discussing, Sherlock said, I feel that the current situation is a good thing. Every graduated Lich will be capable and be praised by every dungeon lord. That will undoubtedly raise the reputation of Spectre College. As for the protests of the parents, I studied the issue before coming. I don't think it's because of the low graduation rate or the loss of equipment. The parents simply don't know what the college is doing. When the students went home, they conveyed the wrong message to their parents. Madame Raw Vegetables asked doubtfully, is Lord Sherlock saying that the low graduation rate and loss of equipment aren't the reasons for the parents' protests? But the parents raised these points whenever they came to the college. Madame Raw Vegetables spoke gravely. On the surface, it seems so, but we have to understand the parents' worries. They are worried that the money spent on their kids wasn't able to let their kids graduate and get a good job, Sherlock said. This is due to the college not doing enough publicity, so the parents are perplexed. We feel that it's necessary to obtain a classic example to publicize. I am willing to volunteer for this advertisement. Lord Sherlock is saying. Professor Bacon narrowed his eye sockets. Isn't Brainiac working in my dungeon? I'll bring Brainiac to Spectre College to create an advertisement. It's to publicize that although the graduation rate is low, the graduates have the best benefits. You can also prepare similar videos to advertise. The main point is to show that Brainiac obtained a job easily after graduation and with great benefits. I believe Brainiac will accede to the request. The principal slammed excitedly on the table and said, this is a good solution. The last time I attended the Spiritual Education Conference, I mentioned that we can't just concentrate on academic teaching. We have to take note of publicity. I feel that Lord Sherlock has a valid point. Wait, are the issues resolved just like that? Though the principal supported Sherlock, Madame Raw Vegetables wasn't happy. Of course not, it's not sufficient to depend on publicity alone, Sherlock said as he took out a plan and spoke to the other Liches. I prepared a new graduation plan for Spectre College. Times have changed. Isn't it time for a change? Sherlock explained his plan in detail. The content was simple. It was to separate the examination into Level A and B. Level B candidates would follow the previous rules and take part in the training grounds examination. Sherlock would adjust the level of his gamers to be suitable for the Level B candidates. The Level A examination was for the most outstanding students in Spectre College. They would face the strongest gamers. Level A candidates would be allowed to use skeleton magicians and more advanced skeleton soldiers. Students of Spectre College could choose between Level A or Level B for their examination. The students who wanted to graduate could choose Level B, while students who wanted a high salary, benefits, and reputation could choose the Level A examination. For Sherlock, he could roll out a new instance dungeon. Sherlock and the professors had a fierce debate. Finally, they decided to implement it. Chapter 210. New Instance Dungeon. When Sherlock walked out of the meeting room, a few Lich professors spoke with each other while they left. Sorry to impose on you, Lord Sherlock, Professor Bacon said apologetically as he walked behind Sherlock. It's nothing much. It's what a contract partner should be doing to satisfy the contract. Sherlock smiled and didn't put the unhappy matters to heart. Professor Raw Vegetables didn't make things difficult for you intentionally. She's just passionate about Spectre College, Professor Bacon said thoughtfully. We have to amend the old agreement. Your suggestions are very good. Is that my sole effort? It's the result of our discussion, Sherlock said. I'll have to trouble Professor Bacon again. Professor Bacon waved his hand in a matter-of-fact manner. He looked embarrassed as he said, no problem, but is that necessary? I haven't acted for many months, and I feel a bit awkward. What's my name again? Manaroth. Khan. Do you need to read the script, Professor Bacon? Sherlock said as he took out a script. There's a script? Let me take a look. It has been a few months, I almost forgot everything, Bacon said gratefully as he took the script and examined it. Oh, that's how it goes. I'm the Manaroth. Con of the Void Legion. Haha, this is embarrassing. It feels like acting. No problem. Just relax, Professor Bacon. Bacon nodded, and they talked for a while before proceeding to the teleport portal at the training grounds. Eggface was following behind Sherlock, holding his empty journal in his left hand and a box of bloody chrysanthemum tea in his right hand. The bloody chrysanthemum tea was a gift to Sherlock. Sherlock would like Bacon to act in a new plot. The previous Spectre College instance dungeon was created from a plot. Since there was going to be a new instance dungeon, there would be a new plot. Otherwise, the gamers would make a big fuss. That was Brew's suggestion. The two of them were discussing things enthusiastically when they arrived at the Spectre College training grounds. There were tens of gamers who were gathered there. They were very well equipped, full of energy, and strapped with numerous bladder bombs. They were even shouting, calling for a leader to challenge Spectre College. 4 members are ready and lacking a leader. If you want to complete a mission and gain reputation points, equipment, and coins, join us. Hurry before the position is taken up. Forming a team of 5 based on role loot distribution. We have a magician and 2 seasoned warriors. We just need 2 more members. If you bring your own bladder bombs, there will be extra incentives. Selling equipment. Selling equipment. Anybody want to buy traps? Self-made traps. Extremely effective. I guarantee that the boss won't be standing. The training grounds were bustling with activity. Some gamers were shouting, entering the instance dungeon, or waiting for members to join. Professor Bacon was very familiar with the scene, and he didn't have any issues. Bacon looked through the script again and nodded at Sherlock as he said, "Lord Sherlock, I'm ready." "Let's begin." Sherlock nodded his head and walked to the teleport portal. Then he used mana to create lighting effects to imply that he had walked out of the portal. He also removed his invisibility. The gamers were enticed by Sherlock's sudden appearance and flocked to Sherlock noisily. Some gamers went back via the teleport portals to inform other gamers. Sherlock walked forward as he said, "Is this Spectre College? Warriors, you have done well. I feel that you have greatly weakened the power of the Spectre College." Sherlock exerted his dominant aura to restrain the gamers. "It's time that we launch an attack against Spectre College." When Sherlock's voice faded, special lighting effects appeared in front of him. A black-robed Professor Bacon or Ba Manaroth Khan walked out of the lighting effects. "Sherlock, I should have known it was you, the Dungeon Lord of Eternal Kingdom." Ba Manaroth Khan pointed his skeleton finger at Sherlock and said, "You'll lose. The Void Legion is invincible. Your end is close." Ba Manaroth Khan. Sherlock shouted and extended his wings as he charged at Bacon. White mana exploded from his hands. Like a slam dunk pose, Sherlock slammed on the head of Professor Bacon. But Professor Bacon raised both his hands that were accumulating gray mana. 2 opposing mana collided and exploded with huge shockwaves that sent the gamers reeling. The mana special effects created brilliant lighting, leaving the gamers in awe. As the gamers were restrained, they were unable to speak. Sherlock and Bacon separated, and Bacon waved his cloak and said, "Sherlock, you can't stop me. Do you think the power of the Void Legion has been weakened? Don't be naive. We're prepared. Meet your doom. The first is Eternal Kingdom." After speaking, Bacon gradually vanished. "What? They have a new source of power? We have to obtain new information. Warriors, continue to weaken the Spirit Legion. I have to go back and activate the non-existing intelligence organization to counter the impending crisis." Sherlock disappeared from sight. The gamers were no longer restrained, and they started speaking hysterically. "Gosh, what's that? Is the instance dungeon updating? What happened? A plot animation just occurred? The game has always been unpredictable. Thank goodness, I'm here. Otherwise, I would have missed the plot animation. The official website will upload previous videos. Don't you know that? Since when is that new function updated? Like before, we have been deceived by the trashy plot animation. I must admit that the special effects are good." While the gamers were chatting, Sherlock bade farewell to Professor Bacon. He left the training grounds with Eggface and went to the Dungeon Lord main hall. He accessed the computer and published an update on the forum. It was the training grounds instance dungeon update. Eggface brewed a cup of bloody chrysanthemum tea for Sherlock and himself. Then he sat excitedly beside Sherlock to watch him. Eggface was thrilled by the actions of Sherlock and Bacon. He said, With his frail appearance, I didn't expect him to be part of the Void Legion. I, King of the Dark Flames, will not allow the Void Legion to invade Eternal Kingdom. Sherlock ignored the comments of Eggface. Eggface didn't speak to himself for long. He sat quietly and watched Sherlock edit the new announcement. New update to Spectre College Instance Dungeon for 15-member team, Lich Arrival. Chapter 211. Spectre College, Troops Training Grounds. At a Beetleman stop in a dim tunnel, there were 3 hamsters with luggage. They didn't speak a word. After a long time, the leftmost hamster said, "Who suggested coming to such a desolate place for a tour?" "Big boss, I don't know. It must have been you as you've always made the decisions," the middle hamster said. "Can we have our meal first?" the rightmost asked with concern. The 3 hamsters kept quiet. Then the leftmost big boss said loudly, "It wasn't me. I didn't do it. You're slandering me." Sounds of "pa-ta, pa-ta, pa-ta" were heard from afar. A beetleman ran over and came to a halt in front of the 3 hamsters. That was the beetleman to Winterfell. After the 3 hamsters left Eternal Kingdom, they walked very far and avoided numerous dangers. They took clay when they were hungry. Then they followed the tunnel towards Winterfell. After 5 days, they arrived at the beetleman stop. The 3 hamsters boarded the beetleman and went to the rear. After putting down their luggage, they sat down. "Pay money," the gnome beetleman driver said to the 3 hamsters. "Z?" The 3 hamsters emitted gasps of surprise. "What's there to chirp about? Pay with your magic stone cards." The gnome pointed to the magic stone card device at the side. Big Boss stood up and walked to the magic stone card device. Then he turned around and rubbed his buttocks on it. A strange helium voice was heard. "Beep, magic stone card. Beep, magic stone card. Beep, magic stone card." After the 3 beeping sounds, Big Boss walked back to the rear as though nothing had happened. DMN. The gnome was furious. He stood and wanted to beat them up. He had been a beetleman driver for many years, but this was the first time his intelligence had been severely insulted. What kind of silly dudes had he not encountered? However, he hadn't encountered nutcases like that before. The gnome stood up and glanced at a notice on the beetleman's metal shell. Winterfell arrest warrant, 3 hamsters. The Winterfell garrison guard seeks the help of the Underworld inhabitants to provide information on the wanted criminals. Please contact us immediately if you have any information. Any creature who provides information and assists in the arrest of the criminals will be rewarded by the garrison guard. The following are the 3 criminals at large. 1. Big Boss, male, hamster race. Birthday is unknown. Height is 150 centimeters, weight is 90 kilogram. Round face with a fat body that has black and white fur. His voice is like the hilarious helium voice. His behavior seems honest, but don't be deceived. He is a highly dangerous criminal. Please do not antagonize him. Inform the garrison guard the moment you see him. Do not interact with him. If you do, don't infuriate him. Accede to all his requests to ensure you have an intact corpse. Picture. 2. Second Boss, male, hamster race. Birthday is unknown. Height is 148 centimeters, weight is 89 kilogram. Oval face with a fat body that has white and black fur. The voice has a similar quality to a helium voice but with less intensity. He will not do foolish things, but don't think that he is rational. He is highly dangerous. The same advice as above, inform the garrison guard when you see him. Picture. 3. Fat otaku, male, hamster race. Birthday is unknown. Height is 152 centimeters, weight is 100 kilogram. Big pie face with an extremely fat body that has black and white fur. He will only talk about food and nothing else. Run when you see him. If he is hungry, he will eat anything. Picture. If you have any information, please inform the Winterfell garrison guard immediately. The contact address is XXXXXXXX. The gnome driver was stunned. He looked at the 3 hamsters sitting in the rear. That was correct. Their faces matched the pictures on the notice. The hamsters were so plump and prominent that it couldn't possibly be a coincidence. What happened? Second Boss, who was sitting in the middle, asked. "I'd like to eat something," Fat Otaku said. "Ooh." The gnome driver felt goosebumps. He got close to the beetleman exit. If possible, he wanted to flee. But Big Boss discovered the gnome's strange look. His eyes gleamed as he said, We aren't trying to cheat the fairs, don't be mistaken. My magic stone card is placed deeply in my fur, so it's hard to find. Because of that, I brushed the magic stone card device with my fur. The sound is weird because your device is malfunctioning. I didn't use my voice to imitate the device. Big Boss looked at the driver and asked softly, "Can we start the journey?" "Yes, yes," Second Boss said happily. "I'm hungry. I want to eat," Fat Otaku said. I understand." The gnome driver braced himself and returned to the driver's seat while trembling. If he escaped now, he would be harmed by the 3 hamsters. There were no other passengers except the 3 hamsters. He was now in a precarious situation. What should he do? The gnome tried to think of a solution. Perhaps he could get a passenger as a scapegoat. Once he arrived at the next stop and a passenger boarded the beetleman, he would be saved. When he fled, the passenger would be an obstacle to the 3 hamsters. The gnome planned for his escape while driving the beetleman. Soon, he arrived at the next stop and waited for a long time, but there were no passengers. The 3 hamsters didn't know why the beetleman stopped for so long, and they didn't dare to ask. Fat Otaku kept shouting that he was hungry and started biting the leather seat in front of him as he looked suspiciously at the driver. That suspicious gaze was detected by the driver in the rear mirror. It was an intimidating stare that implied he would be eaten if he didn't continue the journey. The gnome shed tears of hopelessness as he drove the beetleman towards Winterfell. In Eternal Kingdom, Sherlock had completed his update of the latest instance dungeon under the watchful gaze of Eggface. New update to Spectre College Instance Dungeon for 15-member team, Lich arrival. Lord Sherlock's attack against Spectre College was stopped by Manaroth Khan. He had no choice but to return to Eternal Kingdom. Soon, the non-existing intelligence organization obtained terrible news: the power of the Void Legion has become stronger. They were training more powerful Spectre warriors and even Liches. We have to destroy their troops' training grounds. Warriors of Eternal Kingdom, do not stop your pace. Advance. Continue fighting. For Eternal Kingdom, we will open up a new group instance dungeon, Spectre College, Troops Training Ground. Gamers will encounter countless skeleton legions. At the Troops Training Grounds, the instance dungeon map is larger with more bosses. The rewards obtained will also be correspondingly larger. We will provide revival for perished gamers in the new instance dungeon. However, there will be a time limit that lasts for a day. Gamers have to defeat all the skeleton warriors in a day, or they will have failed to conquer the instance dungeon. The difficulty level of the instance dungeon, Spectre College, Troops Training Grounds, the number of monsters, and the power and skills of the bosses are all random. Spectre College, Troops Training Ground, entry requirements. Member count of 0/15. Weapon level 3 and above. Reputation level 3 and above. Completed preparatory mission. Spectre College, Training Grounds Instance Dungeon. Mission description. Your capabilities have to be vetted by Lord Sherlock before challenging the instance dungeon. Mission objectives. Completed construction-related daily missions, 0/30. Completed construction-related monthly mission, 0/1. Completed collection of raw materials missions, 0/100. Completed, Spectre College, Training Grounds, 0/5. Sherlock checked through the contents of the update before publishing it. Chapter 212. Instant Group Performance. I love Kasai. Don't think of challenging the instance dungeon without doing construction-related missions. Little Thief. This lousy game should be called World of Carrying Bricks. I am now carrying trash back home instinctively. My girlfriend left me because she thought I was going nuts. DMN, I'm going to carry bricks for the daily missions for the entire night. Mohist Universe. Before I can challenge the 15-member instance dungeon, I have to challenge the 5-member instance dungeon. I give up. My beautiful dreams. Do I have to carry bricks just to fight a boss? I haven't encountered a game producer like you before. Not wearing pants. Gosh, does it mean we have to do a monthly mission and 30 daily missions to challenge the new instance dungeon? Leather Bear. Perhaps the game producers haven't completed the new instance dungeon? And they are using the prerequisite mission to delay for time? Soft Candy Gal. I am yielding. What are those words? Why am I not able to recognize them? While Sherlock was browsing the discussion forum, Eggface was watching and asking questions since he didn't understand. When Sherlock was playing computer games, he only had to watch the game character moving around, but the discussion forum was full of words. It became difficult to watch without understanding. "You're only 2 years old. How many words can you understand?" Sherlock replied as he browsed the forum. "The words seem to be the words above our servants' heads. It's very strange. Are they playing computer games too?" Eggface asked. Sherlock turned to look at him but didn't respond. "Wah, this name is the same as the word above the Houndhead man's head. Is that how it's written?" Eggface used his front claws to dip into Sherlock's bloody chrysanthemum tea, then he wrote the word, peasant, on the ground. Sherlock looked at his bloody chrysanthemum tea and at the curious Eggface. He stood up, grabbed Eggface's wings, opened the door, and threw Eggface out. "Shucks, I received a mission to steam the Black Dragon. How can I steam the Black Dragon? We don't have a steamer. Where's veteran hemp rope technology? Please help a novice gamer." Voices came from outside the door, then there was silence. When it was quiet, Sherlock read the posts in the discussion forum. Spectre College accepted Sherlock's proposal and prepared the Level A graduation examination. A Lich student would be able to use all kinds of skeleton soldiers. If he ensured that all 6 bosses weren't killed, he would pass the examination. As for the details of the instance dungeon map, that would be custom designed. For example, if a Lich student concentrated all his skeleton soldiers and bosses together at the instance dungeon entrance and killed off the gamers one by one, then even if there were 100 gamers, they would all be massacred. Initially, the college was against the proposal. The main consideration was the cost. Previously, the college only needed to pay death compensation for 5 gamers if they perished. And now the new proposal had 15 gamers with automatic replacements. Would the college have to pay death compensation for more than 100 gamers? Even if Spectre College was wealthy, they wouldn't be able to bear such expenses. However, Sherlock suggested a fixed cost of 300 magic stones for each level a graduation examination. That caused a commotion among the Liches as it was extremely affordable. Would they not be required to pay death compensation? Then the contract had to be amended. Sherlock admitted that the concession was due to his close working relationship with Professor Bacon. Hence, the matter was swiftly decided. Of course, Sherlock wouldn't be spending money to help Spectre College build new training grounds. The new training grounds had to be larger and more detailed with better sound effects. They would cost a fortune. Considering the tens of thousands of Liches waiting for graduation and the frequent protests of the parents, this sum of money was considered negligible. Spectre College would need a month of preparation for the new training grounds. As such, the gamers would be doing prerequisite missions during that month. Sherlock looked forward to seeing the new instance dungeon. Before that, he intended to assign Brainiac a mission. That was to create a promotional video. Eternal Kingdom bought a new alchemy platform and magical items creation platform, which were under Brainiac's charge. As the revival system hadn't been overhauled, Brainiac's workload became heavier. As a rare genius from Spectre College, Brainiac was familiar with alchemy and magical items creation. However, both of them cost a lot of money. Sherlock wasn't afraid of anything, except for spending money. Brainiac didn't receive any monetary subsidy. He merely used simple materials like underground spiders, dire wolves, large lizards, and dried fish from the marsh inkspewers to create simple and useless alchemy items. Like soap. When Sherlock arrived at the alchemy room, Brainiac was working while a group of gamers carried a basket of soap out. The gamers weren't bothered by Sherlock's visit as they were used to Sherlock walking around the dungeon. "Lord Sherlock." Brainiac bowed to Sherlock. "Ah, Brainiac, you don't look too well. Did you have a good rest?" Sherlock walked to Brainiac and showed his concern. "Thank you, Lord Sherlock, for your concern. Perhaps it's due to my lack of rest," Brainiac said without emotion. "I see. Have more rest without affecting your work." Sherlock then said, "I have a new assignment for you." "New assignment?" "Yes, it's related to your college." Sherlock sat down and asked, "Do you know about our working relationship with Spectre College? Is that about Eternal Kingdom participating in the college graduation examination?" Brainiac asked. "Yes, previously, you were in charge of the invigilation of the examination grounds, so you must be aware of the college's situation." "The recent graduation rate is very low," Sherlock said casually. "The graduation rate is dwindling?" It's expected." Brainiac nodded, not looking surprised. Some parents protested, so I attended a meeting at Spectre College and provided some suggestions, Sherlock said and then continued. There are 2 levels of examination now. Students who want to graduate easily can choose level B for distinction. Students can choose the harder level A. I will deploy stronger citizens to the level A examination ground and weaker citizens to the level B examination ground. The streaming is to ensure a good graduation rate and encourage the students to study hard, since the different levels will mean different jobs and remuneration. I see, but what has it got to do with me? Brainiac asked, bewildered. Because we have decided to cast you as the main character for the promotional video. Sherlock nodded at Brainiac and said, you're a recent graduate and a rare genius, you will definitely be a level A graduate. Therefore, we need you to be cast in the promotional video to describe your excellent work environment. You can also include your burial hall, daily work content, and remuneration. Do you understand my intention? You have to present the idea that you don't need to worry about a job after graduation, and that you have an excellent salary, benefits, and opportunities. Brainiac nodded and said, am I in charge of the shooting, directing, makeup, acting, editing, and post-production? Of course not, I'll provide you with assistance. Sherlock pointed at the gamers behind him and said, take a look. Aren't the gamers instant group performers? Chapter 213. Tell me about Sherlock. Brainiac's promotion video was completed quickly. As a rare genius, he was also familiar with video production. 3 days after assigning the task, Sherlock received Brainiac's completed video. Brainiac was very efficient. After watching the video, Sherlock went into deep thought. The starting image was Brainiac speaking without emotion, saying, I'm Brainiac, a Spectre College level A graduate. I'm happily staying in Eternal Kingdom. There's food, lodging, and a laboratory for my research. My boss treats me well, and there is no overtime according to my working hours. Would you like to be in my situation? You can be a Spectre College level A graduate like me. Then the video ended. After 3 days, you've only shot tens of seconds of video? Sherlock put down the round adamantine rock and asked. No, there are a lot more videos. This is the final edited version. Brainiac took out a round adamantine rock, which Sherlock took and examined. In the images, a goblin's face filled the entire screen as he said, oh my god, what's this about? A video camera? Does this mean we can produce videos? New voices were heard off-screen. I'm uploading the video to the Pivx website. This is awesome. I'm going to produce a video. Then the video was interrupted with a new scene. The recording device was fixed in the burial hall and facing Brainiac and the gamers. A few gamers looked at the recording device while some off-screen gamers spoke. Say something cool to let the audience feel excited. It's still shooting. Whoa. 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 The gamers who were queuing up at the front nodded in agreement. A gamer with a broken femur had his leg supported by a brace. He sat down happily to receive treatment and said, I have a sister who is preparing for her college entrance examination. My examination results used to be bad, but recently, we have been cutting down trees, and my mathematics results have become extremely good. The month leading up to her exam, she came to me daily for tuition in mathematics, and she obtained the first position in the model examination. She invited me to participate in cosplay. She was the model and had her hair dyed yellow. My sister is so cute. After the gamer, tall pensive Plank, finished speaking, the other enthusiastic gamers became silent. What's happening? The recording device is rolling, keeping talking. No, I don't feel like speaking. The video was cut off, and a new scene began. In the video, a few gnomes were queuing up to receive treatment. Voices were heard off-screen. Apologies, I heard wrongly. It's not to let us act cool, it's to let Brainiac act cool. Okay. 1, 2, 3, begin. Then the queuing gamers started to speak. Brainiac is awesome. When he arrived at Eternal Kingdom, he worked 24 hours a day without any complaints. He helped to treat our wounds and revive us. Yes, Brainiac is the best lich. And that group of evil creatures in Spectre College. They're too evil. Eternal Kingdom is the most awesome dungeon in the Underworld. Brainiac is the most awesome lich. Brainiac is very powerful. We're severely wounded, but he is able to heal us. That is awesome. The subsequent images were about gamers' casual conversations, transactions, forming of teams, and guild war conflicts. Sherlock put down the round adamantine rock. He understood why the final edited version had only tens of seconds of video. This isn't working. Sherlock frowned as Brainiac shook his head and said, I've tried my best. Sherlock pondered for a while and asked Brainiac to leave. Then Bruce said, Lord Sherlock, it's difficult for Brainiac to handle such a publicity assignment. Let me do some editing while adding some content. Sherlock put away the round adamantine rock, then he looked at an invitation letter from the Northern Gladiator Arena. I'll put aside the Spectre College matters. Let me visit the Gladiator Arena. Sherlock stood up and walked towards the teleport portal. Brew, take care of the dungeon. Pa-ta, 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 pom. A beetleman halted at a beetleman stop. The door opened, and 3 fat hamsters with short legs walked down from the beetleman. They turned their heads back and said, Thank you very much. The leather seats are delicious. The beetleman ran off and receded into the distance. The 3 hamsters stared at the faraway beetleman and looked at each other strangely. Then they walked in the direction of Winterfell. The more they walked, the stranger they felt. The roads looked very dark, and the passers-by looked listless, as though they had gone through a war. The 3 hamsters didn't know what happened, and they didn't dare to ask as they proceeded towards Winterfell. An orc who was bearing a magic lantern walked towards them and said, What are you doing? The 3 hamsters were surprised to be stopped by the orc. They looked at each other. What are we doing here? Yes. Why are we here in Winterfell? Where is Our Lady? We're here to have our meal. The wary orc sized them up. He felt they looked familiar. Wait a moment, you're... The orc frowned and grasped the hilt of his sword as he shouted, Someone, please come here. I found them. The nearby garrison guards heard the cries and ran towards them, which caused the 3 hamsters to panic. Then the orc held their paws warmly as he said, Aia, it's you. When we escaped with the captain, we saw you at the camp of the Northern Gate. You came with Eternal Kingdom to save us. The 3 hamsters were taken aback as they didn't understand the orc. What camp of the Northern Gate? What Eternal Kingdom? What's that, Eternal Kingdom? Big Boss, who was the representative of the 3 hamsters, asked curiously. Eternal Kingdom is a dungeon helmed by Lord Sherlock. The orc smiled as he explained. Wait, did you say Lord Sherlock? Second Boss shouted, Is that superior devil Lord Sherlock? Yes, that's correct. The other orcs gathered around them. They saw their benefactors and wanted to thank the 3 hamsters. But the hamsters ignored them. They looked at each other and started talking. Wait, aren't we here to find Lord Sherlock? Yes, I remember now. Our Lady wants us to find Lord Sherlock. Did Lord Sherlock set up a dungeon? Hey, can we have our meal? The orcs laughed and passed their food to the hamsters while an orc explained Eternal Kingdom to them. Behind the hamsters, a pair of white tender bare feet stepped on the dirty floor, but they weren't stained at all. Black feathers that reeked of decay floated down on the back of the right foot. The sudden imposition of a dominant aura made the orcs breathless. The 3 hamsters turned their heads, and their eyes widened. The clean white legs that were like fine pieces of art walked towards the hamsters, and a pure female voice said, Tell me about Eternal Kingdom and that Sherlock. Chapter 214. Are you a girl? At the Northern Gladiator Arena, only 10% of the spectator seats were filled. For an arena that could accommodate tens of thousands of spectators, it was already a good number. Previously, there were only tens of spectators in the arena. Even the spectators' cheering and applause had to be simulated by a lich. It was pathetic. After Eternal Kingdom signed the agreement with the Gladiator Arena, and after a few bloody gladiator fights, there were more and more spectators. The lich wasn't required to create cheering and applause sound effects any longer. In the arena, tens of gnomes shouted while killing each other. Magical lights and special effects flew all over the place. There were even bladder bombs exploding among the gladiators. The gladiator arena was filled with explosions and screams of agony. It was a grotesque sight. The spectators were very excited. When the gladiator fights ended, all of them stood up and applauded. In the arena, the corpses that were covered by mosaic vanished with the use of mana. The victors cheered or stood in a daze in the arena, but they left before the workers who were cleaning up and collecting the equipment. Haha, Lord Sherlock, your gladiators are awesome. Thanks to their mana, their relentless battle, and various traps, the gladiator fights have become popular again. The committee members are very satisfied with your gladiators. Poison Skin stood at the VIP stand, his hands holding onto the railing. His mouth had a red-hot uranium stick that was emitting mushroom clouds and sizzling sounds. Sherlock stood at the side while the wary Evelyn stood behind Sherlock. "This is what a gladiator should be doing. What do you think of my arrangements for individual and organization gladiator fights?" Sherlock looked at Poison Skin and asked, We're scheduling the construction of over 100 gladiator arenas in the northern underworld. The management also received the money from the Merchant Alliance, and the arenas will soon be completed. Compared to the ladder tournament and the battlefield ideas, the management prefers the last man standing model. Poison Skin removed his uranium stick and puffed out a large mushroom cloud. Then he shook his fat body and said, "In order to be the sole winner, hundreds of gladiators kill each other and advance towards our chosen location. Various equipment is scattered on the huge map for them to pick up. Every gladiator has an attached magic eye for the audience to observe them. This idea is excellent. Lord Sherlock, you're a genius when it comes to gladiator fights." This is my favorite too. However, it requires a lot of equipment. The location has to be huge, and the landscape must be interesting. It's good to have varying terrain like hills, valleys, and the sea. It's best if magic scrolls are torn and thrown on enemy ground. This is a must-have, but they require huge sums of money, Sherlock said earnestly. "No problem. Within a month, your gladiators have turned business around. Before long, we'll get to see the full glory of gladiator fights." Poison Skin extended both his hands and shouted excitedly. Sherlock was relieved to see Poison Skin being ambitious. They found a place and discussed the calculated remuneration of the gladiators for the recent month. Besides the last man standing model, there were other models like Battlefield in which hundreds of opposing creatures fought to obtain resources and accumulate the highest tally. The main point was to simulate real battles. This kind of gladiator fight would definitely garner a sizable market. Both of them discussed their plans happily, and the gamers continued playing their dungeon game. At the marshland of the Marsh Inkspewers outside entrance number 2, Peasant thrust his pike at the mouth of a large lizard. Peasant grasped his pike tightly, and his other hand held a kite shield. A few gnomes and houndhead men were sieging 3 large lizards. A gnome with 2 daggers stabbed at the buttocks of a large lizard, but it spun around and stopped his attacks. A gamer stood in front of the gnome with a large shield. Behind the large lizard, a gnome secured a long pole noose on its leg. Other gamers held long pole nooses and waited for opportunities to attack. The gamers were proficient at hunting large lizards. In the marshlands, the gamers had to run when they encountered large numbers of large lizards. However, they were able to deal with 2 to 3 large lizards. As long as they waited at the mudlands, there would be large lizards. Before long, Peasant and his companions subdued the 3 large lizards. They restrained them using long pole nooses and stabbed them to death using pikes without harming the skin. An intact large lizard would fetch more reputation points. "We have succeeded. Why is the daily mission so difficult? We have to submit 3 large lizards. Oh my god, I think that I'll be unable to complete my daily mission and have to continue tomorrow." Burning Chesthair, who was wielding 2 daggers, sat on the ground. His leg was scratched by the paws of the large lizard, and it was a bloody mess. Because he didn't feel any pain, he wasn't bothered. "Why don't you use a pike?" Peasant was equipped with a full set of body armor and a pike. Though it felt weird for a houndhead man to use a pike, it was extremely useful for hunting large lizards. "This is my belief, which is to use my daggers for critical strikes." Why didn't Arthur use a pike? It's his belief in swords. Burning Chesthair said loudly. "You're a cheapskate. How can you be compared to my Arthur?" Sylvanas punched Burning Chesthair's chest. "No, I'm saying Arthur's belief is in swords." Burning Chesthair smiled, and the other gamers interjected. "Then your belief is in daggers." Dagger King Chesthair. "No, he should be called Furious Hair." Burning Chesthair raised his 2 daggers and shouted, "I'll let you have a taste of my critical strike daggers." A few gamers unsheathed their weapons to fight against Burning Chesthair. However, they were just fooling around. They were in the same guild, the Pioneer Alliance, which consisted of veteran gamers. They brought the dead large lizards back to the Marsh Inkspewers. After a month of treading by the gamers, faint paths were seen in the tunnel. The gamers walked as they chatted. "We haven't seen Arthur for some time. Doesn't he need to do daily missions?" one of the gnome asked. Arthur went to receive an award. Not Wearing Pants said. Award? What kind of an award? Sylvanas was surprised, and the others were puzzled. Gosh, don't you know? Didn't Arthur tell you? He was chivalrous and defeated 3 knife-wielding robbers, so he was awarded the commendation for being public-spirited. Everyone gasped in surprise. Gosh, is he that courageous? He dared to fight against knife-wielding robbers? Is he that cool? Wait, is he in Beijing? I read the news on the internet. My results improved by leaps and bounds after playing this game. As for Arthur, he became a martial artist. Could be his bodyguards since Arthur is very wealthy. Isn't it normal to bring along bodyguards? No, I don't see Jack Ma having bodyguards. Sylvanas frowned and looked at Not Wearing Pants. Wait, why did Arthur tell you instead of me? Are you a girl? What the heck? Chapter 215. Sherlock's ambitious plan. As the leader of the Marsh Inkspewer tribe, Salted Fish had become the mayor of the Marsh Inkspewer town within 2 months. The mayor alias was created by the gamers. Salted Fish gave them missions and exchanged rewards for the dead large lizards, so the gamers created an alias for him. Within 2 months, the Marsh Inkspewer tribe had undergone a great change. It was surrounded by a wall that was as high as a goblin. Rocks were available throughout the Underworld, so the gamers didn't have to go back and carry the rocks. They only needed to collect rocks from the tunnel and stack them up for the wall. In addition, the land was leveled. Buildings made of rocks, wood, and other materials were constructed. Some of the buildings were ordered by Brew, while the rest were constructed by the gamers themselves. The buildings ordered by Brew were for storage of the gamer's materials, which were the skin, bones, and meat of the large lizards. As for the gamer's buildings, they were for their own homes. The rich gamers bought the wood and constructed wooden houses. Brainiac could cut the trees and send the wood to Mufasa for processing. Normal gamers would just stack up the rocks to build a house in the Marsh Inkspewer town. Salted Fish couldn't understand the gamers. Should they not be living in the dungeon? Why were they still building houses outside the dungeon? Though Salted Fish couldn't understand, he saw a large number of dead large lizards being sent to him. He also felt safe with the surrounding walls, so he wasn't bothered by the strange behavior of the gamers. A group of gamers dragged 3 large lizards and sent them to Salted Fish to exchange for reputation points. Salted Fish couldn't understand, but he knew that he had to reward them if they helped to kill the large lizards. Rewards like skinned products, food, and darting birds. When the group of gamers was deciding what to exchange for, a black armored gnome arrived while riding on a darting bird. Arthur! The group of gamers shouted as they flocked to Arthur. Even Salted Fish recognized that gnome called Arthur, as he had good prestige among the gnomes. Salted Fish thought for a while and walked to the black armored gnome. The group of gnomes stopped chatting and looked at Salted Fish, who pleaded, "Warriors, thank you for defending us against the attacks of the large lizards. Can I request your help? Help us take back our homeland. At the Northern Gladiator Arena. It's like this. A month from now, there will be a new model for gladiator fights. I'll have to depend on Lord Sherlock for providing the gladiators." Poison Skin sat in his office and pointed to the Northern Underworld map as he spoke to Sherlock. "Don't worry, we have an agreement. There will be more gladiators and not less." Sherlock sat in the chair and held his cup of bloody chrysanthemum tea. He thought for a while and said, "Yes, previously, we discussed the last man standing gladiator fight live streaming. I have an idea, but it will cost a lot more." "Lord Sherlock's idea? Tell me, it must be a good idea," Poison Skin said excitedly and straightened his obese figure. "If we use the arena for the last man standing gladiator fight, the environment is too small. Since the underworld is so huge, especially the Northern Underworld market, we have to make proper use of it. I encountered a new invention called the Internet, which allows creatures from afar to see the same images. If we can think of a way to create a magical internet and allow the Northern Underworld inhabitants to watch the gladiator fights at home, then we can collect money from every family." Poison Skin stood up and paced around with a frown. After 2 rounds of pacing, Poison Skin looked at Sherlock and asked, "Lord Sherlock, is this idea feasible?" "Yes, it's still in the research stage. There are ways to do it, it's just that the research grant." Sherlock muttered, "Don't worry, Lord Sherlock. If this idea is feasible, we will provide money, creature, and material resources. You have shown your capability, and we trust you. Of course, we will have to sign a contract," Poison Skin waved his hand and said, "Of course, I'll go back and draft a contract. You can join in as an investor, but I can't guarantee the timing of the research." Sherlock also stood up. The two of them had a fruitful discussion and decided on the direction of the new collaboration. They would go back and do preparation work. Sherlock left the gladiator arena after a warm farewell from Poisonskin and brought his secretary Evelyn back to Eternal Kingdom. Eggface was still being steamed, and he was feeling extremely comfortable. When Sherlock returned to Eternal Kingdom, he discovered a group of gamers discussing at a pile of trash located at the plaza in front of the Dungeon Lord main hall. A few gnomes were even shouting at each other. "What are they doing?" Sherlock asked Brew curiously. "They obtained Salted Fish's mission and are gathering other gamers for an expedition to reclaim the Marsh Inkspewa's homeland," Brew replied quickly. "But most likely, they will be killed by the large lizards." "I see." Sherlock nodded. "Is Lord Sherlock intending to create new media?" "There is a large difference between the Otherworld's internet and Mana. The internet is popular because of economies of scale. If we push out this new media, the only solution is the Mana formation. Even with economies of scale, the capital and maintenance will be astronomical," Bruce said with concern. "I know, but the profits are sizable too," Sherlock nodded and said. "Though it's expensive, I believe a large number of Underworld inhabitants will foot the bill. Besides the live streaming of gladiator fights, I have other ideas like games, movies, and animations. Aren't these common in the Otherworld? From what I've observed, if I can promote these ideas, the profits are sizable. Is Lord Sherlock intending to create an entertainment revolution? I have no idea how to implement it, as the Otherworld's technology can't be used here. How do we create something similar to computers and the internet?" Brew asked. "There is nothing that Mana can't do. The question is sufficient materials and money, Brew." Sherlock looked in the direction of the burial hall and said, "Though we aren't able to implement the real-time internet technology of the Otherworld, it's still possible to push out recorded videos. I believe Brainiac will be interested in such technology research." "I feel that Brainiac is only interested in the research of your goblins, gnomes, and houndhead men," Brew commented. "Don't make it as if I'm giving Brainiac more work. Magical items creation and research are under Brainiac's work purview. If the Northern Gladiator Arena is willing to invest, then money is no problem. We only need to concentrate on research, publicity, and implementation," Sherlock said as he walked towards the burial hall. "As for the publicity, isn't Nicholas coming to Eternal Kingdom?" Chapter 216. Just Call Me Lassie. "So, Lord Sherlock wants me to research a magical item that can show a live video?" Brainiac thought for a while and said, "Can't we use the round adamantine rock directly to record and watch the video? If we use it to watch videos, it'll work, but I'm thinking of a magical item that will receive video at any time and place for a live stream." "Do you understand?" Sherlock explained the meaning of live stream, to which Brainiac nodded. Sherlock gave this difficult task to Brainiac. As he was about to leave, Brainiac said, "Lord Sherlock, I have modified the previous 100 Houndhead Man eggs according to your instructions. They are very cute." Brainiac took out a locked chest from the burial ground. The gamers were outside the burial hall. When Sherlock was speaking with Brainiac, he wouldn't let them come in. Brainiac opened the chest with Mana. There were various items in the chest like crystal balls, magic powder, newspapers, a rubber ducky, a bicycle pump, a pink bell, a feather pen, plasticine, a stool, a pacifier, and bolster. At one corner were 100 small eggs. Sherlock could grab 4 to 5 eggs using one hand. "How do you incubate them?" Sherlock took one egg and examined it. "Put it beside a fire for a while." Sherlock nodded and took the Houndhead Man eggs. "How is Lord Sherlock going to use these Houndhead Man eggs?" Brew asked. "To reward the hard-working servants." Sherlock returned to the Dungeon Lord main hall and accessed his computer. The door of the Dungeon Lord main hall opened. After absorbing the mixed water and fire elements in the air, I feel my body packed with the power of darkness." Eggface was covered with a white towel as he dragged his fat short legs and walked in. He muttered to himself and walked to the shelf containing the box of bloody chrysanthemum tea. "Wait a moment, what are you doing?" Sherlock lifted his head and looked at Eggface. "The crimson-red pellets with hidden mysterious power are the source of power for the King of Darkness," Eggface said as he tiptoed to reach the box of bloody chrysanthemum tea. Then he pulled it open. "Talk normally." Eggface lifted his head, opened his eyes widely, and sniffed in his mucus while he was still brewing his tea. I want to drink the bloody chrysanthemum tea. Tisk. Let's sell this small black dragon for money. It's a shame for a small black dragon to have such behavior. Tens of thousands of years ago, during the Great War, when huge dragons extended their wings and covered the sky, they incinerated the lands with their breath. If I hadn't witnessed the war, I would think that the legend is a bluff, especially when I see that small black dragon. Bruce spoke regretfully in Sherlock's mind, but Sherlock didn't respond. He looked at Eggface, who had finished brewing his tea. Eggface said, "Please, Lord Sherlock." "Goo-loo, goo-loo. Tisk, it's really nice." Eggface finished his cup of bloody chrysanthemum tea and put it back. Then he removed the white towel, found a stool, and sat right beside Sherlock. "Is Lord Sherlock playing that rolling undead character? I'll be your mentor." "No, underage dragons aren't allowed to watch. I don't intend to play now." Sherlock shook his head. He wanted to finish the contents of the update. "Just play for a while. I feel that you should relax now." Eggface placed his claws on Sherlock's arm. As Sherlock was about to grab Eggface's wings and throw him out, Bruce's voice was heard. "Lord Sherlock, there's a merchant band from Winterfell at entrance number 3. If I'm not wrong, they should be the Baron Nicholas's merchant band." "Eggface, take your stuff, I'm receiving guests." Sherlock stuffed a briefcase into the arms of Eggface. Then he took out a black coat from the chest and walked towards entrance number 3. Eggface wanted to stay back and watch the undead game, but he was unable to defy Sherlock's order. Eggface took out a pair of golden-rimmed spectacles and placed them on his face. Then he followed Sherlock. Sherlock walked directly to entrance number 3. The gamers noticed both of them and knew that there was a plot animation, so they followed Sherlock and Eggface. They were able to review the previous plot animations on the official website since Sherlock let Brew upload the videos from the adamantine rock to the website. However, the gamers preferred to watch the plot animation live. After Sherlock walked out of entrance number 3 with Eggface, the gamers were unable to follow as Sherlock didn't allow access. Soon, Sherlock saw Nicholas's merchant band in the distance. Nicholas was sitting on top of a beetleman. After spotting Sherlock, a large swarm of bats appeared next to Nicholas and covered his entire body. After that, the bats flew to Sherlock and dispersed. Nicholas stood in front of Sherlock and bowed deeply to him. "Respectable Lord Sherlock, you have come to welcome me personally. I feel very honored." "You're too formal, Lord Nicholas. We have a close relationship." Sherlock patted Nicholas's shoulders warmly. When he noticed Nicholas staring at Eggface, Sherlock explained casually, "This is my secretary, Eggface." "Eggface, greet Baron Nicholas." Eggface walked up and adjusted his spectacles. Then, he squeezed his wings together and bowed deeply to Nicholas. "Greetings, Baron Nicholas, I'm Eggface." "You are too polite. Lord Eggface may call me Lassie." Chapter 217. Don't dare to say or ask. Nicholas was in turmoil. It was as though there were tens of beetlemen running incessantly in his mind. Though he heard that Sherlock had a small black dragon as a servant, he didn't expect the dragon to be his secretary. And the dragon was very courteous to bow to him. Even if he was a small black dragon, his status was equivalent to a devil. Nicholas felt his legs going soft. He asked Eggface to call him Lassie. He felt that Sherlock's background was becoming more mysterious. Previously, Winterfell was corrupted by the ancient gods, and it was Sherlock who saved Winterfell. After investigation at the old district, many battle locations and a pool of blood were found. After researching using mana, the perpetrator was found to be the corrupted devil Octopus Ball. Nicholas went to look at the battle scenes in the old district and was astonished. Though he hadn't seen the combat power of Sherlock, he trembled at the thought of it. Sherlock pulled Nicholas to one side and found a rock to sit on. He looked at the merchant band behind Nicholas and asked, "Has Baron Nicholas brought his merchandise?" Yes, Winterfell was in trouble. The Merchant Alliance prepared a new dungeon core for Winterfell, but the transportation of the core will take about a month. I can't do much in Winterfell since the teleport portals can't be used, so I brought my merchant band to trade. Without the Winterfell dungeon core, the prices of most items will increase. Nicholas smiled and said, "Of course, Lord Sherlock, I'll never inflate the prices of merchandise sold to you. If the items that you require have price increases, Tell me so that I can contact the relevant merchants. That's not necessary. Sherlock waved his hand and said, in your letter, you mentioned setting up merchant band routes with Eternal Kingdom. I'm sticking to my previous intention. I'm agreeable with trading, but a sole trading agreement is out of the question. I understand Lord Sherlock's intention. With your capability, you can choose your trading partners. I was too arrogant previously, so I suggested investing in Eternal Kingdom. Please don't put it to heart, Nicholas said with a smile. If you want to invest in Eternal Kingdom and trade with us, I'll always welcome you. In fact, I have a business proposal. Sherlock smiled and pulled Nicholas towards Eternal Kingdom. He said, let's proceed to Eternal Kingdom. I have a lot of ideas and businesses. Perhaps you may be interested. Nicholas was interested, but the wilderness wasn't a suitable location for discussion. The merchant band would stay outside entrance number 3 because Eternal Kingdom was too crowded with 2,000 gamers, so there was no space for the merchant band. Both of them proceeded to the dungeon. Nicholas remembered the rules, which were to not ask questions and spread disinformation. Nicholas had signed an agreement, so he was taking it to heart. When Nicholas walked into Eternal Kingdom, a group of gamers surrounded him and asked a multitude of questions. Is that Lassie? Gosh, is that a new plot? Where's Lassie's merchant band? Are we having a merchant band activity? Nicholas didn't say a word. When he saw the legendary Houndhead men, he didn't ask about them. He saw a distant lich who was gazing at him, as well as a group of goblins, gnomes, and Houndhead men who tried to climb on the lich to get a better view. He didn't say anything. When he saw a few goblins using rocks to write mathematical equations, he suppressed his disdain and didn't ask about them. A goblin who was emitting pure white sacred light said solemnly to his comrades, let me see if my sacred light can harm Lassie. Gosh, I'm in plot mode? Nicholas couldn't stand it, but before he said anything, Sherlock preempted and said to Nicholas, don't ask. Hold back. In the dungeon lord main hall of Eternal Kingdom, Eggface was very obedient. He brewed 2 cups of bloody chrysanthemum tea, placing 1 cup in front of Sherlock and reserving the other cup for himself. Then he sat in a chair while Sherlock sat in the last chair. Ah, relax and treat this place like your home, Sherlock said cordially when he noticed Nicholas standing reservedly at the door. Yes, Baron Lassie. Why are you standing at the door? Stand closer, Eggface said cordially, but his actions weren't the same. He was a black dragon, after all. Nicholas didn't speak or complain as he stood in front of Sherlock. He saw Sherlock take out a contract and pass it to him. It had the words, Eternal Kingdom and Northern Gladiator Arena Collaboration Agreement version A. Nicholas was surprised. He looked at Sherlock and asked, is Lord Sherlock collaborating with the Northern Gladiator Arena? That's correct. The things I'm discussing with you are related to the collaboration with the arena. Sherlock placed his hands on the table and said, we're currently providing the arena with gladiators from Eternal Kingdom. They are the goblins, gnomes, and Houndhead men that you have seen, and they obtained the gladiator qualification certificates. I'm currently researching a new technique. After that, I'll promote it. I'd like to collaborate with you on the publicity of this technique. I do know the Winterfell Press. If I contact them and help Lord Sherlock publish in the papers. Sherlock raised his hand and interrupted Nicholas. No, it's not the Winterfell Press. I want to contact the entire Merchant Alliance and publicize to the Northern Underworld. Chapter 218. A gamer who sneaked into Winterfell. Lord Sherlock, are you promoting your products via the Merchant Alliance? Nicholas thought for a while and said, I can try applying for you, but there's no precedence. I understand. Let's put this matter aside. When the product is finalized, we can discuss it in detail. The Northern Gladiator Arena is one of the investors and will be involved in the detailed discussion. Let's discuss trading. Sherlock took out the map of a large furnace and placed it on the table as he said to Nicholas, I am constructing a large furnace to create superior equipment for sale. I hope Baron can help me arrange for the import of raw materials and the sale of the equipment. Then I won't have to look for another merchant. No problem. There is a lot of demand on the Merchant Alliance's side. You may count on me for the sale of your equipment. Besides the equipment, Sherlock and Nicholas discussed the remuneration. Nicholas stated that it was an honor for him to be solely in charge of Eternal Kingdom's equipment. How could he earn a commission from it? Besides payment for transportation and miscellaneous costs, Nicholas wouldn't accept other payment. To Nicholas, He had confirmed that Sherlock must be at least a cousin or son of Satan. Otherwise, how could Sherlock be so awesome? Eternal Kingdom was a level 3 dungeon with a large furnace and a mana area in construction. After many battles, Eternal Kingdom was still crowded with servants. Nicholas was still curious about these recruited goblins, gnomes, and houndhead men. Sherlock was moved, and he said to Nicholas, "I understand Baron's intention, but I won't let you take a loss. If Baron won't accept magic stones, then I'll compensate you by providing labor. If you need labor to create your products, equipment, or houses, just inform me. I have a pool of skilled and diligent workers." Sherlock raised his hand to interrupt Nicholas, who was about to speak. "Baron Lassie, I know what you want to say. You won't need to pay for the labor costs, nor their food and lodging. I'll foot the bills. Don't think that it's a huge sum, as I'll need your help in the future. You deserve to have the benefits. Lord Sherlock, how can I impose on you and let you spend money?" Nicholas was moved. Sherlock saw his expression and patted the table as he said, "It's what I should do. If you need to produce large amounts of merchandise, just inform me. I'll arrange the labor for you and give you a 20% discount for the labor costs. You can pay using magic stones or in raw materials." Nicholas intended to stay in Eternal Kingdom for 3 days and sell some merchandise, which consisted of some equipment and magical items. Nicholas provided a list of goods for sale. He wasn't required to barter for raw materials this time. Raw materials were precious to Sherlock since the gamers required them for equipment improvement. As the demand was high, he wouldn't trade them with Nicholas. What was going to happen? Were the gamers going to use magic stones? But the gamers didn't have magic stones. Sherlock bought some magical items that weren't available in Eternal Kingdom from the list. As Sherlock was about to pay for his citizens, Nicholas was moved and stopped Sherlock. "Lord Sherlock, I'm moved by your kindness to your citizens. You're a good role model. I can't let you pay as you'll be making a loss. I'll let your citizens pay using their labor. Why don't we test this method now? As you know, I'm dealing mainly with female accessories. My business is good, but Winterfell is without a dungeon core, and my factory has lost its energy source and is unable to produce anything. So, you intend to manufacture your merchandise in my dungeon? No problem. It's a good chance to test it out. Baron, you'll provide the raw materials while I provide the labor. We'll waive all the magic stone charges as it will hurt our relationship." Sherlock waved his hand and gave his promise. The two of them were happy and decided to establish their collaboration with a contract. Nicholas brought his merchant band into Eternal Kingdom to unload his goods, then he left immediately for Winterfell to retrieve his raw materials. Sherlock obtained Nicholas's goods and a contract for labor. He felt happy since he could squeeze more work from the gamers. He intended to edit a new update to encourage the gamers to work harder and build a better Eternal Kingdom. It was then that he noticed a post on the forum. He narrowed his eyes and started reading it carefully. The post was, "Sneaking in was successful. I have sneaked into Winterfell." The creator of the post was Marco Polo. "By chance, we used a loophole left after the Winterfell battle campaign to sneak into Winterfell and stayed behind. We weren't brought back to Eternal Kingdom by the plot. How could we stay in Winterfell? After the war ended, most of the gamers were taken back by the airship. The gamers who stayed back were pronounced dead and revived in the Eternal Kingdom. But the decision by the game system was made while you were online. At that time, I had an urgent matter to deal with, so I went offline at the critical point of the war. After a few days, I discovered my character was still in Winterfell. I didn't create any posts or divulge this matter because I know that the lousy game producer is stalking the forum. But I cannot stand it any longer. The main point is that I am unable to have proper meals in Winterfell. I encountered never-before-seen game content. These are the things that will be released at a future date. I just managed to experience them via a loophole. I was hiding in an alley when I went offline. When I was online again, I was moved to another alley. Even my equipment was missing. I suspect that it was a game bug. The first thing I did was look for food, as if I took in a large amount of clay, I would die of food poisoning. It wasn't easy for me to stay in Winterfell, so I couldn't just die off like that. After recalling the game's highly intelligent AI, I tested a common way of gameplay, begging the NPCs. I managed to fill my stomach by begging, so this is a viable gameplay method. Besides begging, I discovered other methods. There were many job opportunities in Winterfell. Gamers can work for NPCs. For example, within these few days, I sold newspapers, helped in the construction of a house at a construction site, and did odd jobs at a restaurant. Initially, I was unaware of my nonsense and was dismissed. Then I realized that I had to be immersive in the game. I couldn't spout nonsense to NPCs. I disguised myself as an NPC and played accordingly. I was successful. Currently, I'm employed as a blacksmith apprentice. I'm starting work tomorrow, so I'm a little excited. In the future, the game may open up a channel for topping up our accounts, because I discovered the game's second currency. The NPC's currency, magic stones. I discovered I was unable to use my coins in Winterfell. Perhaps it's due to the incomplete development of the game system, but all the NPCs that I encountered were using the magic stone cards, which are similar to bank cards, for their transactions. In the future, we can use magic stones to do transactions with NPCs. The equipment in Winterfell is excellent. In the blacksmith shop that I'm working at, though I'm unable to bring the equipment back for appraisal, according to my observations, they are purple legendary equipment. They aren't inferior to Arthur's equipment. In fact, many of them are superior to Arthur's equipment. I also encountered various underworld creatures such as werewolves, giants, Hades horses, lizard men, hellhounds, and slimes. They could be released in the game in the future. There are various strange professions like diviner, enchanter, magical items craftsman, door guard, garrison guard, barber, hairstylist, and pet caretaker. The most important thing is that you have a chance to be employed if you are capable. According to our situation, if we go to the construction site to carry bricks, earning magic stones isn't a problem. This is like a second reality. This is a sword and magic world. The development team is awesome. I'm impressed by the massive amount of content. I'll show some pictures of Winterfell after the war and group photos of the Winterfell inhabitants and I. Then you won't say that I'm bluffing. Picture. This is a picture of me at work. Remember, I am Marco Polo.